Chapter 12:20. What's this? Ling Zhao's eyes flashed as an ancient jade talisman appeared in his hand. The primordial spirits of the three black-clothed men were suppressed by Ling Zhao's sky-swallowing divine sea. Their primordial spirits and spiritual intelligence were slowly being destroyed. When Ling Zhao checked the treasures in their small worlds, he was most curious about the ancient jade talisman other than some divine stones and elixirs. The jade talisman was the size of a baby's palm. It was square and there were mysterious engravings on it. It looked ancient, as if it contained some kind of mysterious law of heaven and earth. It looks like a talisman, but I can't activate the power in it. It looks very old. It has existed for at least millions of years. It should be a treasure from some ancient ruins. Yi Liangchen took it and looked at it carefully before he said slowly, "Alchemy, weapon forging, talisman crafting, and formation carving were the four main auxiliary professions. Although martial arts was the foundation and core, alchemy, weapon forging, talisman crafting, and formation carving were also very noble. The origins of these four professions were very ancient. It was even difficult to verify. It was said that they had existed since the beginning of the era. Over the years, many geniuses had become sages through alchemy, weapon forging, talisman crafting, and formation carving. All of them were very powerful and were respected by many people." Ling Zhao's heart skipped a beat. He realized that the jade talisman had made the wordless heavenly book tremble slightly. However, when Ling Zhao sent the jade talisman into his sea of consciousness, the wordless heavenly book did not have any other reaction. Ling Zhao increased the speed of refining the primordial spirits of the three black-clothed men. Soon, he found the relevant information from their memories. The three leaders of the talisman stronghold participated in the trial of the Great Void 1,000 years ago. This jade talisman was obtained from the Great Void Mystery Land. Ling Zhao's heart skipped a beat. These three men in black were the three leaders of the Fukong stronghold. In fact, they were three bandits. 1,000 years ago, they were only at the Supreme Being realm. They had participated in the Great Void trial. Although they were eliminated in the end, they had obtained many opportunities and their cultivations had advanced by leaps and bounds. For example, many of the talismans used in the previous battle were extremely powerful. They had obtained them from the Great Void secret realm, and this jade talisman was obtained from a savage tribe. Back then, the savages had treated it as a treasure and worshipped it. However, even after studying it for a long time, they still couldn't figure out the origin and use of this jade talisman. Perhaps I can find out the origin of this jade talisman in the Great Void secret realm. Ling Zhao's heart skipped a beat. He had always felt that this jade talisman was extraordinary. There were not many treasures that could cause the wordless heavenly book to react, but all of them were extremely precious. The three leaders of the Fukong stronghold had been killed silently in the small courtyard where Ling Zhao and the other two lived. This had intimidated many people who had designs on them. Therefore, the following 7 days passed very peacefully. In these 7 days, Ling Zhao had used the sky-devouring divine fire to fuse the void primordial gold with the sky-devouring sword. The sky-devouring sword had also been upgraded to the level of a supreme-grade divine artifact, and it was still improving. Ling Zhao estimated that if he could find precious heavenly treasures in the Great Void secret realm, perhaps the sky-devouring sword could be upgraded to the level of a godly king weapon. One had to know that in the lower realm, although a supreme weapon already had a weapon spirit, the weapon spirit of a divine artifact would not be very useful after passing the divine tribulation. Only a holy treasure could have a complete weapon spirit. The innate spirit king in the sky-devouring sword was very special. It could be said that just the weapon spirit alone had already given the sky-devouring sword the potential to be upgraded to a holy treasure. The sky-devouring sword was like a human who cultivated on its own. As long as it continued to devour various heavenly treasures, divine metals, and precious metals, it would be able to continuously upgrade its level. During these 7 days, more and more people came to the dazzling Gold City. Countless young experts wanted to participate in the Great Void trial. Although utmost exalted realm experts could also participate in the Great Void trial, the majority of them were divine spirit realm experts. After all, the Great Void secret realm was filled with danger. In the past, many experts had died in the Great Void secret realm. Even so, there were more than 10,000 divine spirit experts in dazzling Gold City. 7 days passed in a flash. Rumble. On this day, an ancient and vast voice resounded in the sky above dazzling Gold City. Everyone opened their eyes at the same time. In the sky above dazzling Gold City, an ancient door appeared. It was dazzling, divine light was dense, and endless divine light was gushing out. It seemed to lead to another vast world. The Great Void secret realm has opened. Everyone who wants to participate in the Great Void trial, please pass through here and enter the Great Void secret realm. Light flickered in the void. The figure of dazzling Gold City's Lord, Lu Yangfeng, appeared beside the ancient door. His vigorous and majestic voice resounded in dazzling Gold City. The Great Void secret realm has opened? Let's go. This time, I must enter the 5 great academies. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. We must not miss it. As long as we enter the 5 great academies, we will be able to enter the 5 great holy lands in the future. This is an opportunity for us. If we don't take it, we will be punished. Let's go. In the entire dazzling Gold City, divine thoughts intertwined. All the genius experts who were preparing to participate in the Great Void trial revealed incomparably excited and emotional expressions. One by one, figures rose into the sky and flew towards the ancient door at lightning speed. The Great Void trial is finally opening. Brother Long, Xiaoya, let's go. Yi Liangchen was also incomparably excited. In these 7 days, Ling Xiao and Fengya had been cultivating, but he was about to go crazy. After enduring 7 days with great difficulty, the Great Void secret realm had opened. This made Yi Liangchen extremely excited. Alright, let's go. Ling Xiao smiled faintly, and a trace of light flashed in his eyes. In order to inherit the will of the Scarlet Dragon War God, they had to pass the Great Void trial and enter Ares College. Then, they had to enter the War God Temple. The immortal holy lands in the divine world were extremely strict when it came to accepting disciples. Basically, they were personally nurtured by themselves. They rarely accepted those who had left home halfway. This also ensured the loyalty of the disciples. Ling Xiao and the other 2 soared into the sky and flew towards the ancient door in the void. At the same time, Ling Xiao also felt that there were more than 10 figures following behind them unhurriedly. It was obvious that they were up to no good. They really don't know what's good for them. Ling Xiao smiled coldly and ignored them. Instead, he flew directly towards the door of light. But why won't you let me in? I want to participate in the Great Void trial. A miserable cry rang out. In the void, a young man in a black robe was directly sent flying by the door of light. He had no way of entering the door of light. His eyes were filled with unwillingness, but there was nothing he could do. This passage was set up by the people of the 5 great academies. Even the dazzling Gold City Lord only had the authority to maintain order. In order to participate in the Great Void trial, one had to be within 100 years old. At the same time, one's cultivation had to be between the sovereign realm and the true God realm. Chapter 12:21. The black-robed young man was obviously over 100 years old. Naturally, he was recognized by the light door. There were people who wanted to take advantage of the situation and enter the light door. However, in the end, they were thrown out because they did not meet the requirements. The others just watched coldly from the side and even mocked them. Country bumpkins, how dare you participate in the Great Void trial with your little cultivation? Be careful not to die in the hands of those talisman beasts and savages. At this moment, Yun Chen and a dozen divine spirit realm subordinates mocked and ridiculed Yi Liangchen. Then, with a loud laugh, he swaggered away and directly entered the light gate. Hee, little brat, when we are in the Great Void secret realm, I will teach you a good lesson. Yi Liangchen sneered and did not care at all. Yi Liangchen and Long Outyen, right? How dare you steal my Yuanyang pill? I will wait for you in the Great Void secret realm. Peach Blossom Prince looked coldly at Yi Liangchen and Ling Xiao. He opened the folding fan in his hand and also led a group of guards into the Great Void secret realm. Lu Yangfeng, who was beside the light door, acted as if he did not see anything. He just floated there to maintain order. It was as if he did not even look at Yi Liangchen and Ling Xiao. These scums dare to threaten me, Yi Liangchen? It seems that if I don't teach them a lesson, they will not know how many eyes I have. Yi Liangchen sneered. Ignore them. Let's go. Ling Xiao said indifferently. He did not care about Yun Chen and Peach Blossom Prince's threats at all. He led Yi Liangchen and Feng Ya into the light door. Rumble. The surrounding light was bright and the laws intertwined. It was as if the void was distorted. Ling Xiao faintly felt that they had been sent to an extremely far place. When they opened their eyes, they appeared in a huge square. Is this the Great Void Ancient City? Ling Xiao's eyes flashed and he began to look around. Although the Great Void Secret Realm was called a secret realm, it was actually an extremely vast world. According to the Scarlet Dragon War God's memory, the known area of the Great Void Secret Realm was probably not much smaller than the Grand Heaven region. There were even many unknown areas. Within the Great Void Mystic Realm, there were countless ancient demonic beasts. However, those demonic beasts were adept at using the power of runes on their bodies. Hence, they were also known as rune beasts. There were also some living beings in the Great Void Mystic Realm. Those living beings looked no different from humans, but they ate raw meat and drank blood. They lived the life of a savage tribe and were extremely cruel. Those creatures were called savages or talisman people. This was because their bodies were engraved with all sorts of runes. The more runes there were and the more complex they were, the more powerful they were. There were even some powerful rune men that were comparable to human godly kings. They had the power to destroy the world at every turn. Therefore, the number of people who participated in the Great Void Trial in the past was not small. The ancient city of the Great Void was a massive city in the Great Void Secret Realm. It was occupied by the 5 factions and had set up powerful formations, making it the base for the Great Void Trial. Everyone who wanted to participate in the Great Void Trial would gather in the Great Void Ancient City before entering the safe zone of the Great Void Secret Plane to undergo the trial. At this moment, Ling Xiao sensed that there were actually over 100,000 people in the ancient city, and there were still people entering the city incessantly. As expected of the Great Void Trial, it actually attracted so many genius experts. Ling Xiao exclaimed in his heart. The Great Void Trial could be said to be a grand event that swept through the grand celestial realm. Not only was entering the 5 great academies an irresistible temptation, but more importantly, there were also many opportunities and treasures in the Great Void Secret Plane. Some people had even obtained the inheritance of ancient experts. Killing was prohibited in the ancient city of the Great Void. Therefore, although Ling Xiao felt that some people were full of hostility towards each other, he only glared at them and left. He did not dare to fight here. Brother Long, there are actually so many genius experts? This will definitely be fun. What do you think the content of the Great Void Trial will be? Yi Liangchen looked at the surrounding crowd excitedly and asked Ling Xiao. It's nothing more than hunting talisman beasts or talisman people, right? This should be a feast for killing. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed as he said indifferently. The Scarlet Dragon War God's memory did not have much information about the Great Void Secret Plane, but Ling Xiao knew a thing or two about the purpose of the Great Void Trial. The Great Void Secret Plane could be said to be shared by the 5 great forces. When the Great Void Secret Plane was first discovered, it even attracted the attention of the saints of the 5 great forces. They even used their supreme divine abilities to plunder all kinds of treasures and inheritances in the Great Void Secret Plane. The treasures in the Great Void Secret Plane had probably been plundered long ago. That was why it became a place for the Great Void Trial and was controlled by the 5 great academies. The most important thing in the Great Void Trial was naturally to choose the students of the 5 great academies. Secondly, it was to use up the talisman beasts and talisman people and plunder the remaining treasures. Therefore, the rules of the Great Void Trial in the past were very simple. It was almost set up for killing. It's too boring to fight and kill. If we can dig up the treasures of a saint, we'll be rich. Yi Liangchen said excitedly. In the past, the treasures of saints had appeared in the Great Void Trial, and the people who found them were directly accepted as disciples of the 5 great academies. However, the probability of this was not high. After all, the Great Void secret plane had been explored by the saints of the 5 great forces. Could it be that you were more powerful than the saints? A day later, hundreds of thousands of people had gathered in the Great Void ancient city, and most of them were in the divine spirit realm. Only a small portion of the Supremes were in the Great Void realm, and most of them wanted to fish in troubled waters. All the passageways were closed, and 5 figures with terrifying auras instantly appeared in the void. Rumble! The void trembled, and rays of divine light were dazzling. The 5 figures stood indomitable as if they were holding up the sky. Immediately, everyone could not help but tremble. 5 divine kings. A bright light flashed in Ling Zhao's eyes as well. Those 5 figures were clearly God King experts. The leader was an old man with white hair and a beard. He was dressed in a golden robe and had a youthful face and white hair. He had a sage-like demeanor and a very amiable smile. His eyes were incomparably deep, as if they contained the vast starry sky. Beside him stood an extremely beautiful woman in a white dress, but she looked very cold and arrogant, as if she was otherworldly. There was a burly man in black armor with his black hair fluttering in the wind. His face was dignified and domineering. There was a young man in black with an ancient sword on his back. Sword intent rose from his body, and it was incomparably vast. There was also a middle-aged man with a sinister face and an incomparably cold aura. Chapter 12:22. Tong Yuan, Lu Shuling, Overlord, Genshin, Ji Guyuan. These 5 names could be said to be thunderous in the grand celestial region. It wasn't that their cultivation was strong. Although a divine king could dominate a region, they weren't the strongest. The main reason was because of their identities as the deans of the 5 great academies. Every great void trial was personally hosted by the deans of the 5 great academies. The arrival of the 5 great academies also meant that the Great Void Trial had officially begun. Everyone's eyes were filled with excitement and respect. The entire ancient Great Void City was silent as everyone raised their heads to look at the 5 figures in the sky. Everyone! I am Tong Yuan, the Dean of Ares College. I will be hosting the Great Void Trial this time. The white-haired old man smiled at the crowd. With a wave of his sleeve, streaks of light fell like rain, instantly landing on each person's body with incomparable precision. They were snow-white tokens with the ancient words, Great Void, engraved on them. The tokens in your hands are called Great Void tokens. When you encounter danger in the trial, you can crush them and send you back to the ancient Great Void City in 3 breaths. However, if you crush the Great Void token, it means that you have automatically given up on the trial and are eliminated. Tong Yuan's voice was extremely deep and resounded in everyone's ears. It was extremely clear as he explained the rules of the Great Void Trial this time. The Great Void Trial this time is the same as the previous ones. The trial will last for a year. Your mission is to kill rune beasts and rune humans. For Supreme Being Realm experts, killing Supreme Being rune beasts or rune humans is worth 10 points. Killing Divine Spirit Realm rune beasts or rune humans is worth 100 points. Killing True God Realm rune beasts or rune humans is worth 1,000 points. The rules for Divine Spirit Realm experts are the same. The Great Void tokens in your hands will record the points that each of you has obtained. Of course, if you are willing, you can also give your points to others. After a year, those who are ranked in the top 1,000 will become disciples of the 5 great academies. The rest will be eliminated. Tong Yuan's voice was extremely clear as he explained the rules of the Great Void Trial in detail. Many people who knew about the Great Void Trial also realized that there was no difference between the Great Void Trial this time and the past. This was the simplest rule. One only needed to keep killing and then snatch points. Even when the person who made this rule made the rule, he deliberately let everyone kill each other to snatch points. One could imagine that the upcoming Great Void Trial would be a bloody trial. Not only would countless talisman beasts and talisman humans die, but many participants would also die here. However, although everyone's expressions were grave, and some Supreme Being experts were even a little frightened. No one chose to withdraw. This was a great opportunity, and no one was willing to give it up. Even if there was a slim chance of survival, he still had to give it a try. In addition, the top 50 of the Great Void Trial scoreboard can freely choose which academy they want to join, while the rest will be chosen by us. In particular, the champion of this Great Void Trial will be rewarded with 10 drops of sacred liquid from our 5 great academies. Tong Yuan smiled and released another explosive piece of news. It was fine that the top 50 of the scoreboard could freely choose their academies, but the champion would be rewarded with 10 drops of sacred liquid, which immediately made everyone's breathing quicken. 10 drops of sacred liquid would be worth more than 200 million divine stones according to the normal market price. Not to mention that the sacred liquid was a treasure that had a price but no market. Even if it was worth 500 million divine stones, there would probably be people who would go crazy to buy it. Even a heavenly god expert would find it difficult to take out so many divine stones. Perhaps only a divine king expert would have such a foundation. The champion would be able to obtain 10 drops of sacred liquid, which immediately made everyone excited. The champion will definitely be me. Peach Blossom Prince clenched his fists, and a sharp glint appeared in his eyes. Alright, I now announce that the Great Void Trial has officially begun. Tong Yuan said slowly, and 2 rays of divine light seemed to shoot out from his eyes. Boom! The heavens and earth shook, and a huge scoreboard appeared in the sky above the Great Void Ancient City. There were countless names on it, and as long as one imprinted their name on the Great Void token, it would naturally appear on the scoreboard. Now, everyone's points were naturally 0. The Great Void Ancient City trembled slightly, and a huge rainbow bridge that spanned hundreds of millions of miles instantly appeared in front of everyone. A vast world appeared in the distance, and majestic essence of heaven and earth rushed towards them. The Great Void Trial has begun. Let's go. Everyone's eyes were filled with incomparable excitement as they flew towards the vast world. The huge rainbow bridge was resplendent, and it actually enveloped everyone. Moreover, it instantly split into billions of rays of light. This was a random teleportation, and it was also to prevent everyone from gathering together. Everyone was distributed in different places. Immediately, rays of light descended, and Ling Xiao, Yiliangchen, and Feng Yo were naturally separated and entered the trial ground. Fellow Lu, there are many good seedlings in the Great Void Trial this time. It seems that we will be able to take in another batch of good disciples. Tong Yuan looked at Lu Shuling beside him and smiled slightly. Although Lu Shuling was the principal of the Imperial College, Tong Yuan knew that Lu Shuling was extraordinary. She was the personal disciple of a sage, and she even had hopes of becoming the Dao sovereign of the Imperial Dao Palace. Her talent was unparalleled, and she was incomparably powerful. Even the tyrant, Jianchen, and Ji Guan looked at Lu Shuling with a hint of respect in their eyes. Their talent is just average, Lu Shuling said indifferently, and her voice was ethereal and cold. Tong Yuan smiled bitterly when he heard that. He knew that Lu Shuling's standards were extremely high, but he did not expect that among hundreds of thousands of people, there was not a single person that Lu Shuling liked. Cough cough. Fellow Taoists, I'm afraid that many people will be restless when the Great Void Secret Realm opens, and they will jump out. However, we should take this opportunity to explore the Great Void Secret Realm. If we can find part of the Emperor's inheritance, it will be the most important thing for us. Tong Yuan directly changed the topic. When they heard Tong Yuan mention the Emperor's inheritance, not only the tyrant, Jianchen and Ji Guan, but even Lu Shuling's eyes revealed a hint of anticipation. They had opened the Great Void Secret Realm countless times, and the most important thing was that they wanted to find the Emperor's inheritance. However, it was a pity that countless years had passed, and they still did not find anything. Fellow Taoist Tong is right. Our main bodies have already rushed there, and it's good to let those people explore the way first. It's fine if they can't find anything, but if they really find something, we can just kill them. The tyrant also smiled coldly, and his eyes revealed a hint of domineering sharpness. Chapter 1223. The place where Ling Xiao landed was a lush primeval forest. Ancient trees towered into the sky with old vines entwined around them. The canopy was like a dome that covered the sky. Only a faint light flickered, causing the surroundings to be incomparably dark. The Great Void secret realm that only opens once every 1,000 years actually has so many precious and sacred herbs? Could it be that the Great Void secret realm is really a great world? Ling Zhao's eyes flashed. He saw that there were many precious medicines and even sacred medicines growing in the surrounding forest. He could even smell a trace of intoxicating fragrance that contained the fluctuation of divinity. That was the aura of divine medicine. It had to be said that the Great Void secret realm was too big. Even the area isolated by the 5 great academies was incomparably vast, spanning hundreds of millions of miles. After so many years, there was no way to explore it clearly. In this vast area, there were countless powerful talisman beasts and talisman tribes that appeared and disappeared mysteriously. When Ling Xiao was in the Great Void ancient city, his perception wasn't very clear. However, when he truly came to this vast land, Ling Xiao felt the vastness of this world. In this place, even supremes would find it difficult to fly. Only immortals could fly in the sky. The space here was incomparably firm and contained a mysterious power of law. Ling Xiao carefully activated the Heaven's Will secret technique. He could faintly see that there were mysterious lines of law intertwining in the void. If he could grasp the power of those lines of law, he would be able to control this world. Is that the power of talismans? Ling Zhao's eyes trembled. He felt that the power was very similar to the lines on the jade talismans. But in just a moment, Ling Xiao felt his eyes dry up and hurt. He had a feeling that he was going to cry. His vision became blurry, and the law lines in front of him instantly disappeared. The so-called Heaven's Will secret technique that Ling Xiao was currently activating was actually an incomplete part of the second Heavenly Dipper secret technique. It allowed Ling Xiao to see a trace of heaven's secrets. However, in order to completely see the world, Ling Xiao had to obtain the complete Heaven's Will secret technique. When he thought about the mission of collecting the 12 sky arts, Ling Xiao felt that time was very tight. After the 12 sky arts, there were the 12 sacred grounds. These 12 sacred grounds might not necessarily be the strongest sacred grounds in the divine realm, but they were already the most ancient, the most mysterious, and the most resourceful sacred grounds. Take the War God's Temple for example. Many people knew that the War God's Temple was incomparably powerful. However, very few people knew the War God's Temple's true background. Most likely, even the War God's Temple's disciples would find it difficult to know. As for the heaven battling secret technique, it was only the weakest of the 12 heaven arts. One could imagine how terrifying the 12 sacred grounds were. Especially the secret technique of destiny. According to the Scarlet Dragon Wargod's memories, Ling Xiao guessed that the secret technique of destiny was in the Destiny Shrine. The Fortune Shrine in the God world was like a divine dragon. It was impossible to see its full appearance, but it had the power to shake the entire God world. There were even legends that said that the Fane of Destiny had existed since the beginning of the era. Since Ling Xiao had obtained the wordless heavenly book, he was destined to stand against the 12 holy lands. Thus, before his identity was exposed, he had to work hard in cultivation and borrow the power of the War God Hall to increase his strength. Ling Xiao suppressed the thoughts in his heart and began to move forward. This time, he still had to fight for the position of the champion of the Great Void Trial. The 10 drops of holy liquid were also quite tempting to Ling Xiao. Furthermore, becoming the champion of the Great Void Trial would be extremely important for him to gain a foothold in Ares College and enter the War God Hall. At this moment, a powerful roar of a beast came from the forest in front of him. It was ancient and vigorous, and it shook the forest. Rumble! The branches in front of him swayed, and the earth trembled. A ferocious and monstrous aura rushed towards him, accompanied by a strange energy fluctuation. A huge leopard that was hundreds of feet tall walked out of the forest. Its body was engraved with many mysterious patterns that intertwined like lines. As it walked, it kept moving up and down. It looked vigorous and majestic, and its blood was unparalleled. Its eyes were filled with murderous intent as it stared at Ling Xiao. Talisman beast? Ling Zhao's eyes flashed. He never thought that he would be so lucky to encounter a talisman beast. The talisman beast that looked like a leopard in front of him had an aura that had reached the peak of the divine spirit realm. Furthermore, Ling Zhao could see a trace of human-like ridicule and cruelty in its eyes. It was obvious that this talisman beast had a certain level of intelligence. Furthermore, Ling Zhao finally understood why it was called a talisman beast. It was because the strange lines on their bodies were like a medium that communicated with the power of the heavens and earth, bringing them great power. The leopard suddenly opened its bloody mouth and let out a thunderous roar. A fishy wind blew towards Ling Zhao's face, and the muscles on its body tightened. A powerful energy fluctuation spread out, and it looked like it was about to attack. Let me see what's so different about this so-called talisman beast. Ling Zhao's eyes flashed as he sneered. He didn't care whether the leopard understood him or not, and he threw a punch at the leopard. Boom! This was the god of war King Fist. The golden fist imprint was incomparably fierce. Ling Zhao's body moved up and down like a divine dragon, and the power in his body rose as he suddenly threw a punch at the leopard. Ling Zhao didn't use the power of the 3 styles of sky-encompassing hammer. He was afraid that he would kill the leopard with a single punch. Even though this so-called talisman beast seemed to be stronger than the demonic beasts and divine beasts of the divine realm. The killing intent in the leopard's eyes rose as if the ant in front of it actually dared to attack it, and it was infuriated. Therefore, it didn't hold back and suddenly pounced towards Ling Zhao. Its incomparably sharp claws smashed towards Ling Zhao's head. When the leopard attacked, Ling Zhao felt something different. Not only did these talisman beasts have incomparably fierce power, the key was that they could mobilize the power of the heavens and earth. The lines on the leopard's claws lit up, and the radiance was dazzling. It guided the power of the heavens and earth to descend, as if it was some kind of fire law, and it instantly caused the leopard's claws to burn. This claw contained the pure power of fire, and it made Ling Zhao exclaim in admiration. These talisman beasts were indeed extraordinary. But that was it. Their power didn't exceed Ling Zhao's expectations, and they still only had the power of the divine spirit realm. And in the divine spirit realm, Ling Zhao's battle prowess could be said to be invincible. Boom! The golden fist imprint exploded and suddenly collided with the leopard. Chapter 12:24. Kacha. The flames exploded, and the leopard's 100-feet-tall body smashed several towering ancient trees in the distance. Under the effect of the flames, the trees began to burn fiercely. The leopard seemed to have been knocked unconscious. It stood up with a snort and looked at Ling Zhao with an even more ferocious expression. It roared once again. This time, the lines on its head lit up and rippled out like water waves, turning into a huge torrent of sound waves that shrouded Ling Zhao. At the same time, its huge body soared into the sky and opened its bloody mouth to bite Ling Zhao. It actually wanted to swallow Ling Zhao directly. What a strange sound wave technique! Ling Zhao also exclaimed in admiration. The leopard's sound wave technique was really something. If an ordinary expert at the peak of the divine spirit realm was here, they would probably be caught off guard and be swallowed by the leopard. Knowing that these talisman beasts could mobilize the mysterious power of law, Ling Zhao didn't think that he would be able to come out alive after being swallowed by the leopard. Unfortunately, the sound wave technique didn't have any effect on Ling Zhao. It wasn't just because of the wordless heavenly book. More importantly, Ling Zhao's primordial spirit was incomparably powerful. It was clear and flawless, indestructible, and had an immortal aura. Ordinary primordial spirit attacks had no effect on him. Star-picking hand. Ling Zhao's eyes flashed, and his hand stretched out toward the talisman beast. The second of the 3 styles, star-picking hand. When Ling Zhao used the star-picking hand, it seemed to have an incomparably profound concept. In a trance, his hand seemed to have traversed hundreds of millions of miles, turning into the hand of the celestial emperor. It could reach the 9 heavens, pluck the stars and grab the moon, and descend into the 9 underworlds. It could lock the gods and capture ghosts. It could even dig a hole in heaven and earth. The leopard widened its eyes in disbelief. It realized that Ling Zhao's star-picking hand seemed to be very slow, but it was extremely fast. Before it could even react, Ling Xiao had already left a bloody hole in its body and suddenly pulled out the talisman bone in its heart. An intense pain assaulted it, and the leopard let out an incomparably miserable cry. It was simply about to faint from the pain, and the energy in its body seemed to have been sucked dry. It suddenly fell from the sky and ruthlessly smashed onto the ground, turning into a pile of mud. Its eyes finally revealed an incomparably terrified expression. That was its talisman bone. To a talisman beast, the talisman bone was its lifeblood, and it carried over 90% of its strength. Moreover, it was a precious treasure that allowed it to communicate with the energy of talismans. Without the talisman bone, its cultivation would probably fall by a few levels and be unable to recover. It was similar to the destruction of a god's divinity. For a talisman beast, having a talisman bone taken away was a fate worse than death. Is this a rune bone? It's a very special power. No wonder so many people are willing to participate in the Great Void Trials. This rune bone is a natural divine weapon embryo. It contains divine laws. As long as it is refined slightly, it will become a powerful divine weapon. Ling Xiao sighed softly. The talisman beasts and talisman men's talisman bones were the talisman bones. After so many sessions of the Great Void Trials, many people were very clear about this. However, the talisman bone was the lifeline of a talisman beast, and ordinary people simply couldn't find the location of the talisman bone. Just now, Ling Xiao was also enlightened. He used the Heaven's Will's secret skill and instantly understood the location of the talisman bone. Then, he used the star-picking hand to snatch the talisman bone. With the talisman bone snatched, the leopard's life was already in Ling Xiao's hands. The talisman bone in Ling Xiao's hand was the size of a fist. It was crystal clear and flowed with a red glow. It seemed to be filled with flames and contained an incomparably vast power of the law of fire. It looked incomparably exquisite. Ling Xiao looked at the frightened leopard and was too lazy to play with it. He directly smashed its head with a punch. The Great Void Token flashed and the leopard's soul was directly devoured by the Great Void Token. Ling Xiao's points also became 10. The Great Void Token can devour the souls of talisman beasts and talisman men. It's definitely not as simple as just counting points. Or should I say that the souls of talisman beasts and talisman men are also important items that the 5 great academies need to collect? Ling Xiao thought to himself. Unfortunately, the Scarlet Dragon War God did not have many memories of the Great Void Secret Realm. He also did not know what the 5 great academies needed these souls for. Not only can this Great Void Token be used to count points, it must also be a surveillance item. It can let the people of the 5 great academies see the situation of the holder. Ling Xiao looked at the Great Void Token and thought to himself, "Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh, swoosh." At this moment, 2 air-piercing sounds shot towards him. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed and saw 2 black-robed young men passing through the dense forest. They instantly appeared in the void in front of Ling Xiao. The 2 black-robed young men looked extremely arrogant. Their cultivation had reached the late stage of the divine spirit realm. Each of them carried a strangely shaped saber and looked down at Ling Xiao. "Boy, you can actually kill a talisman beast by yourself. It seems like your combat strength is not bad. Now, I'll give you 2 choices. First, hand over your points and let us help you leave the Great Void Secret Realm. Second, come with us." One of the black-robed young men looked at the leopard talisman beast that Ling Xiao had killed. He was a little surprised, but he still spoke coldly. Although he could kill a talisman beast by himself, in their eyes, Ling Xiao's cultivation was only at the middle stage of the divine spirit realm. He couldn't be that strong. "I naturally don't want to leave the Great Void Secret Realm. However, if you want me to go with you, where will I go with you?" Ling Xiao smiled faintly and said calmly. Although he could kill the 2 of them with a slap, it was obvious that the 2 of them didn't have simple backgrounds. Ling Xiao wanted to know more about them before deciding. "Why are you talking so much nonsense? We asked you to come with us, so hurry up and leave. Otherwise, we'll kill you right now," the black-robed young man said impatiently. "Second brother, be more polite," the black-robed young man next to him reminded him. He then smiled at Ling Xiao and said, Brother, my young master found a talisman man tribe in front of us. There are about 1,000 of them. This is not a small amount of points. Therefore, my master sent us to invite heroes to attack the talisman man tribe together. Who is your young master? A talisman man tribe with 1,000 people? How many divine spirit realm experts are there? What's the cultivation of the strongest expert? Ling Xiao didn't reject him directly. Instead, he pondered for a moment and asked, Brother, don't worry. My young master is Luoyang City's Raging Flames young master, Lu Yan. His cultivation is extraordinary and his talent is unparalleled. The Talisman Man tribe is only a small tribe. There are only about 50 divine spirit realm experts. The strongest one is only at the True God realm. However, brother, don't worry. Leave the True God realm expert to my young master. We'll only be in charge of dealing with the ordinary talisman men in the tribe. The black-robed young man didn't show any impatience. Instead, he smiled and explained to Ling Xiao. Alright, I'll go with you to take a look. Ling Xiao nodded and agreed. As for the Raging Flames young master, Lu Yan, he had never heard of him. However, Luoyang City was a large city that wasn't inferior to dazzling Gold City. It was just in the Supreme Heaven region. Presumably, the Raging Flames young master, Lu Yan, was someone like the Peach Blossom young master, Lu Wenqing. Ling Xiao didn't care about him. Ling Xiao also wanted to see what the talisman man looked like. Brother, please. Chapter 12:25. The two black-robed young men were blood brothers. The eldest was called Yao Wei and the second was called Yao Xing. They took Ling Xiao and soared into the sky, flying far away. Big brother, why are you so polite to this kid? In my opinion, you should have just taken him away. Why are you explaining so much to him? Yao Xing transmitted his voice to Yao Wei and asked in confusion. Second brother, you should change your bad temper. Otherwise, even I won't be able to save you if you kick an iron plate. Yao Wei said via voice transmission. There was a trace of helplessness in his voice. He looked at Ling Xiao with reverence and explained, Second brother, if I'm not wrong, that leopard talisman beast's cultivation should have reached the perfect divine spirit realm. However, it was killed by this kid called Long Outyin. What? Yao Xing's voice suddenly became louder. Although he was transmitting his voice, his face was still filled with shock. Talisman beasts and talisman men were the same. They were extremely powerful and it was difficult for experts of the same level to kill them. This place seemed to be the home of those talisman beasts and talisman men. They could use powerful talisman symbols as they wished. If that leopard talisman beast's cultivation had reached the complete divine spirit realm, it would be difficult for even an expert of the complete divine spirit realm to kill it. After all, talisman beasts could run away if they couldn't defeat them. However, the leopard talisman beast was killed by Ling Xiao. It could be seen that Ling Xiao was at least at the complete divine spirit realm. A person at the middle divine spirit realm who had the combat strength of a complete divine spirit realm expert was definitely a genius expert who had hopes of entering the 5 great academies. If Ling Xiao had made things difficult for them, they would have been dead by now. Thinking of this, Yao Xing couldn't help but break out in cold sweat. Big brother, since this kid has such powerful combat strength, why is he following us to the Talisman Men tribe? Is he plotting something? Yao Xing looked at Ling Xiao's back with a trace of respect in his eyes. Don't worry about him. As long as we reach the Talisman Men tribe, with the young master there, a mere middle divine spirit realm expert won't be able to do anything. Yao Wei said slowly. That's right. The moment the young master entered the great void secret realm, he broke through to the true God realm. His strength is unparalleled and he even has hopes of becoming the champion of this great void trial. If this brat dares to play any tricks, young master will definitely not let him off. Yao Xing said confidently. His eyes were filled with reverence at the mention of the Raging Flames young master. Even though Ling Xiao didn't know what Yao Wei and Yao Xing were talking about, he could sense their little tricks behind his back. However, Ling Xiao didn't pay any attention to him because he was attracted by the talisman bone. If I'm not wrong, this jade talisman is probably made from some kind of powerful talisman bone. It's at least the talisman bone of a talisman beast at the God King realm. Ling Zhao's eyes flickered. When he had obtained the symbol bone, he had already noticed that the material of the symbol bone was very similar to the jade talisman he had obtained. However, the runes within the jade talisman were even more profound and complex, countless times more complex than the rune bone. Ling Zhao immediately guessed the material of the jade talisman. However, to use such a powerful rune bone to create a jade talisman, one could see that the origin of this jade talisman was not ordinary. Ling Zhao, Yao Wei, and Yao Xing passed through the forest and arrived at a valley. There were already dozens of godly realm experts in the valley. They were gathered together and chatting. When they saw Ling Zhao, all of them had different expressions. However, most of them were filled with sympathy and even gloating. "Brother Long, please wait here for a moment. I'll report to the young master." After Yao Wei and Yao Xing said that, they came before a young man in a black robe and bowed respectfully. The young man in the black robe looked to be in his 20s. He was tall and handsome. The black robe on his body was embroidered with a few flames with golden threads. His entire body was emitting a powerful aura. He looked very gentle and had a faint smile on his face. It was easy for people to have a good impression of him. There seemed to be flames flickering in his eyes. He was the Raging Flame's young master, Lu Yen. Yao Wei and Yao Xing bowed and then whispered something to each other before pointing at Ling Zhao. Lu Yen nodded and a strange look appeared in his eyes. He then walked towards Ling Zhao. "You must be Brother Long Out Yen, right? I'm Lu Yen. Greetings." LV Yen smiled at Ling Zhao. "Greetings." Ling Zhao nodded indifferently. Although Lu Yen looked very gentle and had a smile on his face, Ling Zhao could feel the arrogance and disdain hidden under that smile. It was very fake. "Brother Long, in the depths of the valley ahead is the Talisman tribe. Those talisman men are sinister and cunning. They have already discovered our tracks, but most of them have hidden. Brother Long, are you willing to be our vanguard and investigate the Talisman tribe?" Lu Yen said to Ling Zhao. Everyone's gazes landed on Ling Zhao with different expressions on their faces. In this group of more than 60 people, all of them were in the divine spirit realm. Lu Yan's cultivation was in the early stage of the true God realm. He was indeed the strongest person in the group. However, there were only a dozen people who were Lu Yan's subordinates. The rest should have been gathered by him in a short period of time. Ling Zhao guessed that Lu Yen probably used some kind of treasure to be able to gather everyone in such a short period of time. The dozen of Lu Yan's subordinates looked at Ling Zhao with ridicule in their eyes, while the others looked worried and sympathetic. Everyone knew that the Talisman tribe was very dangerous. Those Talisman barbarians were not afraid of death. Anyone who dared to attack their tribe had their heads chopped off and hung on their bodies. This young man called Long Out Yen was only in the middle stage of the divine spirit realm, but he was sent by Lu Yen to be the vanguard. In fact, he was just cannon fodder. Could it be that he had offended Lord Raging Flame? Everyone was guessing in their hearts. Ling Zhao frowned slightly. He did not expect Lu Yen to send him to his death in the Talisman tribe. He could even feel the hostility hidden under Lu Yan's gentle appearance. "You want me to be your vanguard? Are you trying to send me to my death?" Ling Zhao said expressionlessly, but his voice was a little cold. "Brother Long, you worry too much. I will send people with you to protect your safety. If you can find out the truth of the Talisman tribe, Brother Long will have made a great contribution. At that time, I will give you more points." Lu Yen said with a smile. "What if I'm not willing?" Ling Zhao asked with a faint smile. As Lu Yan's most loyal lackey, Yao Xing immediately jumped out and said coldly to Ling Zhao, "Anyone who disobeys Lord's orders must die." Chapter 12:26. Lu Yen took a glance at Ling Zhao and said with a slight smile, "Brother Long, I heard from my subordinates that you killed a divine spirit realm talisman beast with your strength alone. Truly shocking. With your combat strength, entering the Talisman Man tribe, you'll definitely be able to retreat unscathed. This is for everyone's safety. I hope you can understand." Just now, hearing Yao Wei and Yao Xing talk about Ling Zhao's combat strength, it made Lu Yen have a trace of vigilance in his heart. He even felt a trace of threat. A mere middle-stage divine spirit realm had the combat strength to kill a divine spirit realm talisman beast. One could imagine that if this boy grew up, he would definitely be a formidable opponent. Hence, Lu Yen wanted him to be the vanguard, dampen Ling Zhao's spirit, then think of a way to subdue him. Lu Yen believed that relying on his true God realm combat strength, it was enough to suppress Ling Zhao. For everyone's safety? What a great, for everyone's safety. It's just that I think you got two things wrong. Firstly, am I very familiar with you all? What has your safety got to do with me? Secondly, I'm not your subordinate. Are you worthy of commanding me? Ling Zhao said with a cold smile, his eyes revealing a trace of sharpness. The smile on Lu Yan's face instantly froze, his eyes revealing a trace of gloominess. The crowd didn't even understand what had happened. Why did this newcomer suddenly go against Lu Yan? But some people knew that Lu Yan probably wanted to use Ling Zhao to establish his might and use this to unify everyone. It was just that some people were worried in their hearts. Wasn't Lu Yan too arrogant? The Talisman Man tribe was right in front of them. Instead of uniting to attack the Talisman Man tribe, he wanted to have internal strife. What if those Talisman Men charged out? Everyone knew that Talisman Men were incomparably ferocious and did not fear death. Even if Ling Zhao was suppressed by Lu Yan, was Lu Yan so sure that he could definitely deal with those Talisman Men? Audacious! You actually dare to speak to young master like this? Why aren't you kneeling and begging for young master's forgiveness? Yao Xing laughed coldly and said to Ling Zhao, "Noisy! What right do you have to speak here?" Ling Zhao smiled faintly and directly slapped out. Ling Zhao was very close to Yao Xing. This slap of his was as fast as lightning. Caught off guard, no one could react at all. Yao Xing was instantly sent flying by Ling Zhao. Put! A crisp sound rang out. Half of Yao Xing's face instantly swelled up. He spat out a mouthful of blood and screamed in agony. Then he suddenly crashed into the ground in the distance with a loud bang. This slap stunned everyone. Especially Lu Yan, his face turned ashen. Ling Zhao had sent his subordinate flying with a single slap. It was as if he had been slapped in the face. How could this brat be so arrogant? He was merely at the middle stage of the divine spirit realm, so where did his courage come from? Bastard, I'm going to kill you! Yao Wei couldn't hold it in any longer. His eyes were filled with monstrous anger. He instantly pulled out the saber on his back. The blazing saber light erupted and suddenly slashed down towards Ling Zhao. Rumble! This saber was as fast as lightning. The black saber light fell like the Milky Way, as if it was going to cut Ling Zhao in half. Clang! Ling Zhao's eyes flashed. His expression was extremely calm as he slowly extended two fingers. Suddenly, the sound of metal clashing resounded. The dazzling saber light dissipated in an instant. Ling Zhao's two fingers caught the saber in Yao Wei's hand. No matter how much Yao Wei circulated his divine power, he couldn't let it fall any further. What? Everyone was shocked. One should know that although the saber in Yao Wei's hand was only a middle-grade divine weapon, under the control of Yao Wei's late-stage divine spirit realm cultivation, even a great perfection divine spirit realm expert wouldn't dare to take it head-on. However, Ling Zhao caught it with two fingers. His physical body was actually so strong. Even Lu Yan couldn't help but reveal a trace of shock in his eyes. Although he felt that he could catch Yao Wei's saber with two fingers like Ling Zhao, he would definitely be injured. After all, his divine body couldn't withstand the might of a divine weapon. More importantly, Ling Zhao's cultivation was only at the middle stage of the divine spirit realm. This was simply too unbelievable. His physical body has become a god? Lu Yan seemed to have thought of a possibility as he looked at Ling Zhao solemnly and said, "Only an expert whose physical body has become a god could withstand the might of a divine weapon with his physical body. If Ling Zhao's physical body has really become a god, it would explain why he could easily kill a great perfection divine spirit realm talisman beast. Get lost," Ling Zhao said indifferently. He suddenly flicked his two fingers. Suddenly, Yao Wei was wrapped in a divine power and was instantly sent flying. Just like Yao Xing, he crashed heavily onto the ground. "Looks like I've really underestimated you." I didn't expect you to have become a god with your physical body. No wonder you have such powerful combat strength. However, since you've injured my subordinate, I have to take action. Today, I'd like to see how strong an expert whose physical body has become a god is. Lu Yan's eyes flickered with a sharp light as he stared at Ling Xiao. Powerful divine power spread out from his body. You're no match for me, Ling Xiao said very calmly as if he was stating a fact. Arrogant. Lu Yan's face instantly darkened as he laughed out of extreme anger. Rumble. An incomparably powerful aura spread out from Lu Yan's body. Murderous intent filled the air. Blazing flames rose as if they were going to burn everything around them to ashes. The confrontation between Lu Yan and Ling Xiao's aura caused the surrounding people's expressions to change. Lu Yan could be said to be in a difficult position now. He was extremely regretful now. He just wanted to force Ling Xiao to be the vanguard, but he didn't expect Ling Xiao's temper to be so unyielding. He attacked at the slightest disagreement. If he couldn't suppress Ling Xiao now, he would really become a laughingstock. Even if there was a great enemy of the Talisman tribe, he could only attack Ling Xiao. However, at this moment, powerful auras rushed over from the valley, and black jade talismans were thrown out. Oh no! The talisman men are attacking! Suddenly, everyone's expression changed drastically as they exclaimed. Rumble! The black jade talismans were thrown out of the valley and exploded in an instant. They were like thunderbolts, causing the mountains in all directions to tremble violently. They turned into fierce winds, raging flames, frost, and a rain of blades and swords, enveloping everyone. Screams rang out. Immediately, a few unlucky godly experts were swept up by the power of the jade talismans and were attacked by the violent winds and flames. They were severely injured in an instant. Kill them all. Obscure and ancient syllables rang out. Although the crowd didn't understand the language of the talisman men, they could sense the mysterious fluctuations with their primordial spirits and instantly understood what they meant. One after another, valiant figures rushed out of the valley. They were all wearing animal skins and had all kinds of mysterious runes drawn on their bodies. Even their faces were full of runes. Although they looked no different from humans, they looked extremely ferocious. Their eyes were filled with cruel killing intent. Chapter 12:27. The experts of the Talisman tribe seemed to have turned out in full force. There were over 100 experts and half of them were at the divine spirit realm. The leader of the Talisman tribe, in particular, was 3 meters tall. His muscles were taut and his blood chi was monstrous. His strength was unparalleled and his aura was even stronger than LV Yan's. The Talisman Man commander charged out of the valley and instantly fixed his eyes on LV Yan. LV Yan was the strongest. His aura was completely unleashed and it was like a candle flame in the darkness. Naturally, he was instantly discovered by the Talisman Man commander. Despicable outsider, die. The Rune human commander looked incomparably mighty and strong. His black hair danced wildly in the wind, giving off an unruly and wild aura. He held a black iron staff in his hand. He swung it up with unparalleled power and smashed it down towards LV Yan. Damned barbarian! LV Yan's expression was extremely ugly. The Talisman Man commander was charging towards him. He had no choice but to give up on Ling Xiao and turn around to attack the Talisman Man commander. Clang! A light flashed in LV Yan's hand and an ancient crimson sword surrounded by resplendent light pierced towards the Talisman Man commander. Sword chi rose and contained the majestic power of fire. It was like a vast sea of fire that enveloped the Talisman Man commander. Great Talisman ancestor, grant me strength. The Talisman Man commander roared. The densely packed lines on his body lit up at this moment. His entire body was enveloped in a layer of golden light that made him look like he was cast in gold. His blood chi was boiling to the extreme. The black staff in his hand trembled violently and suddenly smashed against LV Yan's ancient crimson sword. Buzz! The ancient sword trembled and a blazing sword chi exploded. LV Yan instantly let go of the ancient crimson sword and used his mind to control the sword. It turned into a resplendent stream of light that suddenly circled around the Talisman Man commander and slashed his back. Clang! The sound of metal clashing resounded. The ancient sword slashed the Talisman Man commander's body as if it had slashed against metal. Sparks immediately flew in all directions and the surrounding void trembled slightly. However, this sword strike only left a shallow wound on the Talisman Man commander's back. It did not injure him at all. The Talisman Golem commander cried out in pain. He raised his black iron rod and smashed it towards LV Yen. It's actually the law of metal? It's a pity that your comprehension is too shallow. If you take too long, you'll definitely fail. A gleam of light flashed through Ling Zhao's eyes. He could tell that the commander could control the laws of metal, which was why he radiated with tremendous metallic qi. The inscriptions on his body could communicate with the laws of metal, giving him a tough body that was impenetrable. However, Ling Zhao could sense that although the rune human commander's physique was strong, his understanding of the laws of metal was too shallow. After a long time, he would probably lose to LV Yen. The cultivation of these talismans seemed to be to constantly leave behind rune brands on their bodies and use the power of the laws of the world to kill their enemies. At the same time, two ferocious-looking rune men charged towards Ling Zhao with crude stone axes in their hands. The two rune men were enveloped in an earthy yellow glow. Inscriptions flickered as they used the laws of earth, giving them unparalleled defensive power. Boom! Ling Zhao's eyes flashed as he punched out. A golden fist mark exploded. It contained an incomparably vast power and instantly shattered the stone axes in their hands. Then, without losing any momentum, it ruthlessly slammed into their chests. The earthy yellow glow on the two rune men instantly shattered. Both of them spat out a mouthful of blood as if they had been struck by lightning. They cried out loudly as terror filled their eyes. Ling Zhao's heart skipped a beat. He did not kill the two rune men. Instead, he transformed into a golden bolt of lightning and instantly left the battlefield, shooting towards the depths of the valley. That was the nest of the Talisman Man tribe. LV Yen also noticed Ling Zhao's actions. He wanted to shake off the rune human commander and chase after him. However, the rune human commander had locked onto him and attacked him with all his might, making it impossible for him to escape. Damn it! Long Outyen, I swear that if you dare to snatch my rune infusion, I'll definitely turn you into ashes. LV Yen roared furiously. His voice was filled with unwillingness and anger. Ridiculous! Ling Zhao smiled coldly. He completely ignored LV Yen and increased his speed. Apart from obtaining points by killing rune men, the most important thing in attacking the Talisman Man tribe was that every Talisman Man tribe had an altar to worship the rune ancestor. As long as the rune ancestor altar was destroyed, one could absorb the power of runes that had been accumulated in the altar for countless years. One would be reborn and one's cultivation would soar. The power of runes had been accumulated in the rune ancestor altars for countless years. Thus, when one destroyed the rune ancestor altar and absorbed the power of runes, it would become a rune infusion. The main reason why LV Yen had captured so many people to attack the Talisman Man tribe was naturally for the rune infusion. Now that LV Yen had been targeted by the rune human commander, Ling Zhao naturally benefited. Ling Zhao's speed was extremely fast. Even if a few rune men tried to stop Ling Zhao, they were instantly severely injured by Ling Zhao. They could only watch as Ling Zhao charged into the Talisman Man tribe. The Talisman Man tribe in the depths of the valley looked extremely ancient and primitive. Their houses were built with huge stones and they had even dug a cave in the mountain. However, there was a square altar in the middle of the valley. It shone with 9 colors and looked extremely mysterious. Who's there? Ling Zhao had just entered the Talisman Man tribe when a few rune men who were guarding the tribe roared and charged towards Ling Zhao. Get lost! Ling Zhao's eyes flashed. Powerful divine power erupted from his body and he killed 1 rune man with each punch. Almost none of the rune men who had charged towards him could withstand a single blow from him. After all, most of the powerful rune men had gone out to fight. The rune men who were left behind were simply no match for Ling Zhao. Just as Ling Xiao was about to destroy the symbol ancestor's altar with one punch, he suddenly saw an ancient jade talisman on the altar. It seemed to be made of the same material as the one he had obtained previously. However, it was not as big as the one in Ling Xiao's hand. Ling Xiao's heart skipped a beat. He immediately took out the jade talisman and a dazzling light erupted. The jade talisman on the altar immediately turned into a ray of flowing light and merged with the jade talisman in Ling Xiao's hand. The rune lines on the talisman became even more complicated. The entire symbol ancestor's altar began to tremble violently. A milky white pillar of divine light descended from the sky. It contained an incomparably vast and pure energy fluctuation and caused the surrounding void to tremble slightly. Ling Xiao could sense the pure energy contained in the pillar of divine light. It was the power of runes. The Talisman Man tribe had worshipped it for countless years and converged the essence of heaven and earth by communicating with heaven and earth. Ling Xiao naturally walked over without holding back. He immediately unleashed the heaven-devouring secret technique. His entire body seemed to have turned into a vast devouring vortex and swallowed the milky white pillar of divine light. If Ling Xiao had used the normal method of infusing runes into his body, he would have needed at least a few hours to completely refine the power of these runes. However, Ling Xiao did not have that much time to waste here. He immediately used the heaven-devouring secret technique to devour all the runes before storing them in his small world and slowly refining them. As he refined the rune's power, Ling Xiao could sense that the unfamiliarity between him and this world was gradually disappearing. He was like a fish that had entered the sea. His entire body became incomparably light. Chapter 12:28. Rumble. It was unknown how many thousands of years the boundless power of the runes had been accumulated. Now that it was poured into Ling Xiao's body, it was like a vast river surging violently. Even though Ling Xiao had used the sky-devouring secret skill to absorb the power of the runes into his small world, his body was still glowing and his divine power rose. This outsider dares to blaspheme the symbol ancestor. Kill him. Tear him into pieces. When the symbol humans in the tribe saw this scene, their eyes instantly turned red as if Ling Xiao had killed their entire family. Their eyes were filled with deep-seated hatred. Regardless of whether they were male or female, old or young, or strong symbol humans, they all let out angry and cryptic sounds and charged towards Ling Xiao. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed and the light around his body was dense. He did not bother with the symbol humans at all and instantly soared into the sky, turning into a ray of golden light and disappearing into the void. Most of the remaining talisman men were below the divine spirit realm, so they could only watch as Ling Xiao fled. They vented all their anger on Lu Yen and the others. One by one, they screamed and pounced on Lu Yen and the others. Bastard! Long out Yen, I will remember you! Lu Yen roared angrily and his eyes were filled with anger. How could he not see the boundless power of the runes in the dazzling divine light pillar in the depths of the valley? This meant that Ling Xiao had snatched the opportunity of the runes into his body. His heart was bleeding and he even felt a little regretful. If he had not forced Ling Xiao to such a state, the runes into his body might have been his. Absorbing the power of the runes into his body would probably be enough to raise his cultivation level by a small level. It should be known that the power of the runes into his body did not have any side effects. Therefore, besides hunting symbol beasts and symbol humans, many experts who participated in the Great Void stage liked to destroy the symbol ancestor altar of the symbol humans tribe to obtain the runes into their bodies. Ling Xiao naturally did not hear Lu Yan's voice. However, even if he had heard it, he would not have cared. Ling Xiao left the symbol humans tribe and flew forward in the primeval forest. He carefully concealed his aura and finally stopped in front of a barren mountain. Ling Xiao used the breath-concealing technique. He was like a rock without any signs of life. He directly opened up a path and entered the belly of the mountain. This was because Ling Xiao felt that if he did not refine the power of the runes would dissipate completely. For some reason, Ling Xiao felt that his body was like a sponge and it devoured the power of the runes as if it was thirsty, causing his body to become stronger. Ling Zhao's ancestral dragon mystic technique had already been cultivated to the initial success stage of the divine dragon body. When the power of the runes fused into Ling Zhao's body, he felt as though there was a mysterious connection between him and this world. Is this the power of the talisman way? The talisman ancestor that they are worshipping is probably a great figure in the Tao of talismans, and he is able to influence the strength of an entire world. He is at least a saint. Ling Zhao thought in his heart. The saints taught the world and their words were law. They were almost the embodiment of the way. This was because the saints understood themselves and the world and had their own way. The words they spoke were like the laws of the world. Their words contained the heavenly law and could reverse yin and yang. After Ling Zhao refined the power of the runes, he could feel that this world contained an incomparably majestic power of the talisman way. For example, the laws of the 5 elements, the laws of yin and yang, and even tens of thousands of laws. The ultimate source was the talisman way. To be called the talisman ancestor by the symbol humans, he must be a saint who had studied the talisman way. Ling Zhao took out the jade talisman that he had obtained. It was originally the size of a baby's palm. After absorbing the jade talisman of the symbol humans tribe, it had become a little bigger. It looked flawless and emitted a light that calmed one's mind. It became even more crystalline and translucent. The runes on the jade talisman became even more crystalline and translucent. The intertwining lines were like the mysterious power of the laws and also like the vast mountains and rivers of the world. It was incomparably profound. Ling Zhao glanced at it and felt dizzy. His primordial spirit trembled. If I can continuously devour the jade talismans of the symbol humans tribe, I believe I will be able to unravel the secret of this jade talisman in the end. Ling Zhao thought to himself. After arriving in the Great Void secret realm, he increasingly felt that this jade talisman was not simple. Just as Ling Zhao was refining the power of the runes. In the central region of the Great Void secret realm, 9 mountains that were hundreds of thousands of feet tall were connected to each other. They rose and fell and stretched for tens of thousands of miles. Moreover, they were connected from end to end, forming a huge circle. In the middle of the 9 mountains was an incomparably vast valley. There were many ancient stone halls in the valley. Numerous stone towers were built halfway up the mountain. The surroundings were filled with various kinds of buildings. Although they were not beautiful, they had an ancient and barbaric aura. In the center was a tall altar. It was built with 9 colored divine stones and emitted 9 colored rays of light. It looked extremely mysterious. An old symbol man with a face full of wrinkles and covered in bone ornaments knelt on the altar. He was chanting and his eyes were filled with an extremely pious expression. An ancient jade talisman floated in front of him. It was the size of a human head and was semicircular. It was like a crescent moon, crystal clear and flawless. There were also countless mysterious lines on the jade talisman. At this moment, it was flickering with the resplendent light. Runes floated out from it. Below the altar, thousands of symbol humans prostrated themselves on the ground. They knelt on the ground as their eyes were filled with fanatical worship. The old man on the altar suddenly opened his eyes, and 2 beams of divine light pierced through the void. They were incomparably sharp, and his killing intent blazed. He shouted at the numerous talisman humans below him. The talisman ancestor has decreed that 1,000 years have passed, and the ancestral gate is about to open. Those shameless outsiders have already entered our home. Please follow the symbol king and kill those outsiders. The bravest warriors will enter the ancestral gate and listen to the teachings of the symbol ancestor. The moment the old symbol man finished speaking, all the symbol men were in an uproar. Kill all the outsiders. Kill all the outsiders. Long live the symbol king. All of the symbol humans roared in excitement. Their eyes were filled with fanatical worship. Their gazes were directed at the bottom of the altar, where a young man in a black robe stood up in front of everyone. He was tall, powerful, and extraordinarily handsome. His face was filled with various mysterious runes. Divine chains of orders circled around his body, causing his aura to be extremely terrifying. His eyes were golden and did not contain a trace of emotion. They were mysterious, dignified, powerful, and sharp as if they could see through the myriad of worlds. Chapter 12:29. The Talisman King stretched out his arms and hugged the sky as he spoke in a thunderous voice. "Talisman warriors, follow me and kill all the outsiders." As his voice rang out, all the Talisman warriors fell into a frenzy. Their fighting spirit reached its peak as they pounded their chests and roared. In the Great Void Ancient City, the scoreboard was constantly changing, like a huge screen in the sky, displaying the names and points of hundreds of thousands of people. First place, Xiongba, 11,200 points. Second place, Ji Lingyang, 7,800 points. Third place, Jian Xie, 7,600 points. Fourth place, Wang Lujun, 7,500 points. Fifth place, Cheng Ting, 7,480 points. Sixth place, Chen Koan, 7,400 points. Seventh place, Lu Wenqing, 7,350 points. Names appeared on the scoreboard one by one. The deans of the 5 great academies stood in the air as they stared at the scoreboard in front of them. Their eyes were filled with amazement. In just a day, Xiongba has already obtained 11,200 points. I'm afraid he has already killed more than 1,000 talisman beasts and talisman men, as expected of the successor of the Overlord Divine Body. Tong Yuan sighed as he looked at the names on the scoreboard. The first place Xiongba had attracted the attention of the 5 great deans. However, everyone knew of Xiongba's background. He was the 7th prince of the Sky Tyrant Divine Kingdom and possessed the Overlord Divine Body. Originally, Xiongba did not need to participate in the Great Void Trial and could enter the 5 great academies directly. However, he still came. Most importantly, it was because of the supreme opportunity in the Great Void Secret Realm. No one wanted to miss it. Not at all. His Highness Xiongba is only temporarily in the lead. The 2 princes, Ji Lingyang and Jian Xie, are not far behind. Xiongba smiled modestly. However, the pride on his face could no longer be concealed. Ji Lingyang was the eldest prince of the Great Zhou Divine Kingdom and Jian Xie was the 9th prince of the Sky Sword Divine Kingdom. The 2 of them were extremely strong and could be said to be on par with Xiongba. Wang Lujun, Cheng Ting, Chen Kuan and Lu Wenqing are not bad either. They are all geniuses of the city and are not far behind. However, if nothing goes wrong, I'm afraid the champion will be one of them. Ji Guyuan said with a smile. There's still a year before the end of the Great Void Trial. It's only been a day, so we can't see anything yet. However, those talisman men will probably be unwilling to stretch out their necks to be slaughtered, and they'll definitely come to cause trouble. We still have to keep an eye on them. Jian Chen said slowly. Everyone nodded in agreement. The Great Void Mystic Realm was incomparably vast, but the Great Void Trials area was not considered large. It was only tens of millions of miles in radius. The saints of the 5 major academies worked together to set up a large formation, almost cutting off all connections with the other regions of the Great Void Mystic Realm. Moreover, even if those talisman figures entered the scope of the trial, their cultivation would be suppressed to the Heavenly God realm, and they would be able to bring forth a cultivation at the perfection stage of the true God realm at most. However, those rune humans were extremely cunning. In the past, there had been powerful rune humans who had entered the trial through some loopholes and caused a large number of casualties. Therefore, the 5 deans had always been on guard against this. More importantly, they seemed to have found the most important clue in the Great Void Secret Realm. They did not dare to be careless. Although only the clones of the 5 deans stood guard in the Great Void Ancient City, it was enough to suppress any accidents that might occur. Ling Xiao spent 3 days in the belly of the mountain to completely refine all the power of the runes. His physical strength had become even more powerful, and even his cultivation had reached the peak of the mid-stage of the Divine Spirit Realm. It had basically saved him a few decades of bitter cultivation. Ling Xiao could not help but sigh at the power of the rune infusion. It must be known that after reaching the Divine Realm, every small breakthrough would require decades or even centuries of accumulation. If one did not have enough opportunities, it would probably take tens of thousands of years to reach the heavenly god realm. Of course, there were also some supreme geniuses who not only had unparalleled talent, but also had countless opportunities. It was not impossible for them to break through a realm in a few years. Looks like I still need to snatch more opportunities for the rune infusion. Moreover, if I want to perfect the jade talisman, I'll need the treasures they offer. Ling Xiao thought to himself. If he did not rely on the opportunities in the Great Void Mystic Realm to work hard to break through, the moment he left the Great Void Mystic Realm, even if he entered Ares College, the speed of his breakthrough would slow down. Ling Xiao even set a goal for himself, to break through to the Divine King realm within 100 years. If he did not have enough opportunities, it would be very difficult to break through to the Heavenly God realm, let alone the Divine King realm. Therefore, Ling Xiao had to grab hold of every opportunity to strengthen himself to deal with the various things that were about to happen. Other things aside, if the wordless heavenly book were to be exposed, Ling Xiao would probably instantly become the enemy of the entire world. At that time, even the sages would come after hearing about it. Therefore, after coming to the divine realm, Ling Xiao had a very strong sense of danger in his heart. Now, let's go and meet up with Fengya and Yi Liangshan first. Ling Xiao thought to himself as he left the belly of the mountain. Previously, he had left a primordial spirit imprint with Fengya and Yi Liangshan, which could guide them to find each other in the trial grounds. Ling Xiao thought for a moment and took out the Great Void token to take a look. There was a clear line of information on the Great Void token. Number 523,681, Long Outyen, 10 points. I should be at the bottom, right? But it doesn't matter. What's the point of killing those talisman humans and talisman beasts? Robbing those rich dogs is the most important thing. Ling Xiao laughed bitterly. There were probably only 500,000 to 600,000 people participating in the Great Void Trial this time. Ling Xiao was truly at the bottom of the list. However, Ling Xiao did not mind. After all, the Great Void Trial would last for a year. In the early stages, everyone could still maintain a balance. However, in the later stages, there would probably be internal strife. At that time, if he managed to rob a rich dog, his ranking would immediately rise. On the Great Void token, one could clearly see the entire scoreboard. Currently, Xiongba, who was ranked first, already had 98,000 points. Ling Xiao cursed in his heart. It seemed like the 5 great academies were encouraging everyone to rob each other. Otherwise, everyone would not be able to see the scoreboard. Ling Xiao saw that even the 10th place on the scoreboard had 73,600 points. Lu Wenqing is actually ranked 9th? 75,820 points? What a rich dog. If I were to rob him, I would probably be able to rush into the top 10 immediately. Chapter 12:30. Yi Liangshan is approaching us at a fast speed. It seems like he is being chased by someone. Ling Xiao's heart skipped a beat. He felt that there was a change in Yi Liangshan's primordial spirit. Yi Liangshan's aura was also approaching him at a fast speed. He was only a few thousand miles away. Ling Xiao could not help but reveal a strange look. Yi Liangshan had the saint body of misfortune. Ling Xiao even felt that he was the son of God. Who would dare to chase after him? Ling Xiao immediately jumped up and flew towards Yi Liangshan. In the ancient forest, there were few people. Yi Liangshan looked very embarrassed. He could even be said to be running away like a rat. He kept running forward and shuttled through the dense forest. For a moment, the person behind him could not catch up with him. "Shameless man, where are you going?" Accompanied by an angry voice, a sky-blue sword light was blazing like the Milky Way. It was extremely sharp and instantly slashed towards Yi Liangshan. Yi Liangshan was shocked. His body moved horizontally at an unbelievable angle. Boom! A towering ancient tree beside him was instantly slashed apart by that sword, turning into a pile of fine powder. A lady in a blue dress flew over with a blue ancient sword in her hand. Her eyes were filled with shame and anger. She had a head of sky-blue hair that fell to her waist. It shone like satin. Her skin was crystal clear like jade. Her face was flawless. Her pair of big eyes were like sapphires. They were crystal clear and bright. Her entire body exuded a water-like temperament. Her body was surrounded by water vapor and divine light. She was ethereal and peerless. "Miss, please calm down. I didn't see anything. I don't know anything." Yi Liangchen shouted at the lady behind him as he ran forward. "Bastard, I will tear you into pieces." It was fine if Yi Liangchen did not speak. The moment he spoke, the lady in blue became even more embarrassed. She gritted her teeth and said. The blue ancient sword in her hand continued to emit blue sword light and slashed towards Yi Liangchen. Yi Liangchen covered his head and ran like a rat. He was extremely helpless in his heart. He could not help but wail, "Brother Long, come and save me." Speaking of which, Yi Liangchen felt extremely wrong this time. The great ant behind him had single-handedly exterminated a tribe of talismans. When the talismans poured into her body, the power of the talismans was so strong that her clothes were shredded. Yi Liangchen didn't think much of it at first, but when he passed by the talisman tribe, he decided to go in and take a look. This was clearly a tragedy. Yi Liangchen had seen every part of that woman's body. That was how the pursuit had happened. Yi Liangchen felt guilty. After all, he had seen the girl's body, so he didn't dare to resist. He could only cover his head and run away desperately. Most importantly, he couldn't resist even if he wanted to. He was only at the early stage of the divine spirit realm, but the great ant behind him was already at the early stage of the true God realm. There was an entire realm between them. Yi Liangchen had already sensed Ling Xiao's location, so he was hoping that Ling Xiao would be able to save him. "No one can save you. I'm going to kill you today." The lady in the blue dress had also become ruthless. Her eyes were filled with anger. Her name was Wang Lujun, and she was currently ranked 4th on the rankings. She was a genius expert of Jade Sea City, and was known as the Lingbo Fairy. When she thought about how her body had been seen by this bastard, Wang Lujun was so angry that she almost fainted. This was especially so when this bastard was shouting all over the world. She couldn't wait to kill him now. However, it was a pity that Yi Liangchen was too slippery. Even Wang Lujun was shocked. After chasing him for tens of thousands of miles, she still couldn't catch up to this bastard who was an entire realm lower than her. Rumble! Wang Liujuan's entire body shone with a bright light. A blue divine rainbow soared into the sky. It was like a divine chain of order, and it shot towards Yi Liangchen. "Great Ant, please spare me." Yi Liangchen let out a strange cry. He used the astral steps, and his figure looked very elegant. It was as if there were traces of the movement of the stars. He actually escaped from the range of the blue divine rainbow in an instant. Rays of blue sword light slashed towards him. Rumble! At this moment, a golden fist print flew towards him from afar. It contained an invincible power, and it instantly blocked in front of Yi Liangchen. "Brother Long, you're finally here." Yi Liangchen was overjoyed. That golden fist print directly shattered all the blue sword light that filled the sky. Ling Xiao's white robe fluttered in the wind. He turned into a golden lightning and instantly landed beside Yi Liangchen. "Brother Yi, why are you in such a sorry state?" Ling Xiao smiled and said, "Sigh, don't mention it. It's a long story." Yi Liangchen's face was filled with embarrassment. Ling Xiao was also sizing up Wang Lujun, who was chasing after Yi Liangchen. He could feel that although Wang Lujun looked extremely angry, she was merciful when she attacked. She did not have any killing intent. She was just angry. When he looked at Yi Liangchen again, Ling Xiao instantly felt that it was different from what he imagined. "Who are you? Hand over the kid behind you, or I'll kill you too." Wang Lujun looked at Ling Xiao and said coldly. Although Ling Xiao's cultivation was only at the middle stage of the divine spirit realm, Wang Lujun somehow felt a strong sense of threat from him. The white-clothed girl in front of him was not simple. "Miss, I'm Long Outyen. This is Yi Liangchen, my good friend. If he has offended you in any way, I'll apologize on his behalf. I hope that you won't lower yourself to his level." Ling Xiao cupped his fists at Wang Lujun and said with a smile. Wang Liujuan's eyes were filled with coldness. She said rudely, "You're apologizing on his behalf? Do I know you that well?" Hand him over, and you can leave. Otherwise, don't blame me for being rude. Ling Xiao smiled bitterly in his heart. He didn't know how Yi Liangchen had offended the girl in front of him. She actually hated him so much. However, Ling Xiao naturally wouldn't hand Yi Liangchen over to her. He couldn't help but smile bitterly and said, "Miss, what can I do to appease your anger? As long as you state your conditions, we'll do it." "You want me to appease my anger? That's easy. If you can withstand my sword attack and not retreat, I'll let him go. If you can't withstand my sword attack, you'll hand him over to me. Do you dare to bet with me?" Wang Liujuan's beautiful eyes flashed as she said indifferently. Although the white-clothed young man in front of her looked a little extraordinary, it wasn't easy for him to withstand her sword attack and not retreat. "Sure. I'll promise you. I hope that you'll keep your promise." Ling Xiao heaved a sigh of relief and said with a smile. Chapter 12:31. All right. Then you better catch it. Wang Liujuan's eyes shone with a sharp light. It was as beautiful as the dazzling sword light. Clang. The ancient blue sword floated above her head in an instant. Rays of sword qi spread out, forming a vast sea of sword qi behind her. Endless sword qi surged and rose, containing an incomparably terrifying power. Ling Xiao could feel that the ancient blue sword seemed to have turned into a vast sea. It contained waves and waves of unparalleled power. There was no end to it. The law of the sea, and it has been cultivated to the minor accomplishment realm? Ling Zhao's eyes shone brightly. He could not help but exclaim. The divine path cultivated the power of the law and comprehended the vast heaven and earth to perfect one's own small world. However, most of the godly state experts had only touched the surface of the power of the law. Once the power of the law was cultivated to the minor accomplishment realm, it could double one's combat strength. The power of the law was cultivated to the great accomplishment realm, and it could triple one's combat strength. The power of the law was cultivated to the great accomplishment realm, and it could reach the limit of 9 times combat strength. However, it was not easy to cultivate the power of the law to the great accomplishment realm. Generally speaking, a heavenly god could cultivate the power of the law to the minor accomplishment realm. A divine king could cultivate the power of the law to the great accomplishment realm. In order to reach the great accomplishment realm, one needed not only cultivation but also opportunity. Wang Liujuan's sword strike contained the laws of the ocean, and it allowed her sword strike to possess practically boundless strength. If an ordinary person wanted to take this sword head-on, they would be instantly drowned by the endless sword qi. Buzz. The sword vibrated gently and slowly moved towards Ling Xiao. However, to an outsider, it looked like an unstoppable wave that was crazily rushing towards Ling Xiao. This little girl's swordsmanship is very strong. She looks good, but her temper is a little too fiery. I can't bear it. Brother Long, you're on your own now. Yi Liangchen could not help but exclaim. He retreated far away, and there was a hint of gloating in his eyes. He seemed to be full of confidence in Ling Xiao. Although the sword was very strong, he also believed that Ling Xiao had a way to block it. Blue Sea Sword Technique 9 Waves. Wang Lujun shouted in a low voice. Her eyes became extremely serious. Ling Xiao, on the other hand, closed his eyes. The sky-devouring sword appeared in his hand with a flash of light. It emitted a cheerful hum, and he immediately felt a connection with it. Ling Xiao recalled the destruction sword way that Dugu Qiubai had taught him. He immediately became extremely cold and radiated with a monstrous killing intent. The devouring heaven sword stabbed forward. Boom! It was as if the entire world had turned into darkness. Boundless destructive divine light surged and transformed into the purest sword qi that slashed forward. Ling Xiao had only casually swung his sword. He wanted to display the charm of that sword, giving it a sense of immortality. Rumble! When the two swords clashed, the sword qi instantly exploded. The void trembled, and endless darkness enveloped the area. Wang Liujuan's 9 heavy waves actually exploded like a piece of paper. The heaven-devouring sword was still moving forward, as if nothing could stop it. What? Wang Liujuan's expression changed drastically. She did not expect Ling Zhao's casual sword to be so terrifying. Not only did it destroy the traces of the 9 heavy waves, but it also slashed toward her unstoppably. She felt a sense of fatal danger in her heart. 100 heavy waves. Wang Lujun clenched her teeth and shouted. The divine power around her rose, and the ancient blue sword in her hand shone brightly. Her aura became stronger, and she gathered sword chi that blotted out the sky and slashed forward. Speaking of which, this was already the second slash. However, Wang Lujun had no other choice. She felt that if she did not resist, she would very likely die under Ling Zhao's sword. Therefore, even the 100-layered waves that she was still not familiar with was instantly mastered at this moment of life and death. She slashed towards Ling Zhao with her strongest sword strike. Boom! The blue sword chi rose, but when it came into contact with the black destructive sword chi, it instantly turned into nothingness. Even the 100 heavy waves could not withstand Ling Zhao's sword. The endless sword light turned into dust. The cold sword chi also shot toward Wang Liujuan's forehead. Forget it, Wang Lujun sighed softly, and a trace of misery appeared in her eyes. A sense of helplessness welled up in her heart, and she could not help but close her eyes. You've lost. The sky-devouring sword stopped at Wang Liujuan's forehead, and at the same time, Ling Zhao's calm voice sounded. Why didn't you kill me? Wang Lujun opened her eyes and looked at the white-robed young man in front of her with a complicated expression. Miss, you're being too serious. It was my friend who offended you. I am extremely grateful that you were willing to forgive him. How would I dare to kill you? Ling Zhao put away the sky-devouring sword and smiled. However, Ling Zhao was complaining in his heart. This time, he had really gone overboard in showing off. He had been concentrating on visualizing the destruction sword principle that Dugu Qiubai had imparted to him. He had wanted to make Wang Lujun retreat when he slashed with that sword. However, he did not expect the destruction sword principle to be worthy of its name as a sage's power. Even though Ling Zhao had only used a tiny bit of it, it had almost drained half of his energy. At this moment, if Wang Lujun wanted to kill him, he would have no choice but to run for his life. The power of the sword was so terrifying that Wang Lujun did not even have the strength to resist it. Alright, let's forget about the grudge between us. What sword skill did you use just now? Wang Lujun was very straightforward, and she admitted defeat. At the same time, she was very curious about the sword skill that Ling Zhao had used. Her 100 waves could not block that sword, and she felt that even if she used 1,000 waves, she might not be able to defeat Ling Zhao. That is a sword skill created by a friend of mine. I don't know the name of it either. May I know your name, miss? Ling Zhao chuckled and asked curiously. Wang Liujuan's combat power was so strong that she was probably not a nobody. However, what Ling Zhao did not notice was that Yi Liangchen was shocked by Ling Zhao's sword. He could not help but mumble to himself, that was a sage's sword. It's so similar to the old man's aura. Oh my god, who is this Long Outyan? Could he be the son of a sage? I am Wang Lujun, and I am from Jade Sea City. Wang Lujun smiled and said, Wang Lujun. You are the Lingbo fairy Wang Lujun? The Wang Lujun who is ranked 4th on the rankings and has cultivated the Jade Sea sword art? Chapter 1232. The Lingbo fairy, Wang Lujun, and the Gusha fairy, Cheng Ting, were the 2 most eye-catching prodigies in the Great Void Trials. The Lingbo fairy, Wang Lujun, was the apple of the Wang family's eye. Legend had it that the Wang family's ancestor once had a saint who left behind the Jade Sea sword art, a half-sage martial art. However, some people said that the Jade Sea sword art was actually a saint martial art. It was only a half-sage martial art because it was incomplete. Wang Lujun was the successor of the Jade Sea sword art. She had the saint bloodline and was extremely powerful. Ling Zhao was also a little surprised. When she saw Wang Lujun ranked 4th on the scoreboard, she couldn't help but exclaim, if there isn't a second Wang Lujun, then it will be me. Wang Lujun said calmly. She didn't give Yi Liangchen any face. When she saw Yi Liangchen, it was as if she was reminded of the unbearable scene from before. She couldn't wait to poke a few holes in Yi Liangshan's body with her sword. Brother Yi, do you know where Xiaoya is? The Great Void Secret Realm is filled with danger. We should hurry and meet up with her. Ling Xiao looked at Yi Liangshan and asked. Xiaoya, don't worry. She's fine. After the two of us entered the Great Void Secret Realm, we met up and found a divine spring. Xiaoya is currently cultivating in that divine spring. I'll take you there now. Yi Liangshan said with a smile. Divine spring? How much is there? That's a good place. Why aren't you cultivating there? Ling Xiao said with a little surprise. Even Wang Liujuan's eyes lit up. The divine spring was formed when the divine spiritual qi was extremely dense. If one cultivated in the divine spring, it would be 100 or 1,000 times better than simply absorbing the divine stones. Although the divine spring was not as precious as the saint liquid, it was far more valuable than the divine stones. Perhaps divine king experts wouldn't be interested in the divine spring. However, for experts below the divine king realm, the divine spring was extremely attractive. Yi Liangshan said indifferently, the divine spring isn't big. It's about 10 feet wide and 3 feet tall. I'm too lazy to cultivate, so I let Xiaoya cultivate there by herself. 10 feet wide and 3 feet tall. Isn't it big? Before Ling Xiao could say anything, Wang Lujun widened her eyes and looked at Yi Liangshan with disdain. There should be at least millions of drops of divine spring water with a radius of 1 foot and a height of 3 feet, right? Such a large amount of divine spring water would have taken hundreds of thousands of years to form. Although a drop of divine spring water could not compare to the sacred liquid, millions of drops of divine spring water were far more valuable than the sacred liquid. No wonder even Wang Lujun was tempted. Where is Xiaoya? Let's go look for her now. Ling Zhao's eyes flashed as he spoke decisively. The temptation of the divine spring was unimaginable. If the trial takers or talisman humans discovered it, Xiaoya would be in danger. Alright, Xiaoya is in a valley about 30,000 li away from here. Let's go. Yap nodded. He understood Ling Zhao's concern. At this moment, Wang Lujun suddenly asked, Brother Long, can I form a team with you? The Great Void Mystic Realm is fraught with danger. The more people we have, the more power we will have. Of course. Lujun, I will protect you. Yap Liangshan was overjoyed and immediately agreed to it. The corner of Wang Liujuan's mouth twitched and her forehead was filled with black lines. However, she suppressed her anger and turned away from Yap Liangshan. She was afraid that she would not be able to control herself and kill Yap Liangshan. Sure, it will be our pleasure, Ling Xiao said with a smile. He knew that Wang Lujun was probably interested in the divine spring as well. However, Wang Lujun was indeed powerful. Among the hundreds of thousands of people, she could be ranked in the top 10. With such an expert around, it would be a great help. As for the divine spring, it would not be a problem for him to share some of it with her. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. The three of them shot up into the sky and flew towards the valley where the divine spring was under Yap Liangshan's lead. Their speed was extremely fast, and they flew through the air like 3 resplendent divine rainbows. After a few hours, they saw a lush valley in front of them. White mist curled up in spirals, and auspicious qi pervaded the air. It appeared extremely extraordinary. Ling Zhao's face was filled with worry. The strange phenomenon in the valley could be seen from afar. If someone else passed by, they would be able to tell that there were treasures in the valley. Let's go. Ling Xiao took the lead and shot towards the valley like a golden lightning bolt. In the depths of the mountain valley, ancient trees towered into the skies. Strange and rugged rocks littered the ground, and all sorts of rare and precious herbs grew everywhere. In an ancient cave, there was a divine spring that was shrouded in white mist. It was only 10 feet in radius, but the divine spring water was crystal clear, like nectar. It exuded boundless energy fluctuations. Fengya held the ancient Yuanchuang sword in her hand and stood in front of the divine spring. Her eyes were filled with coldness and anger. In front of her, there were more than 10 divine spirit experts. All of them had a mocking look on their faces as if they were cats catching a mouse. The 2 people at the head of the dozen or so deities were a young man and woman. The man was dressed in a long green robe and looked extraordinarily valiant. The woman was dressed in a long purple dress and looked extremely pretty. Their faces were filled with cold arrogance as they looked down at Fengya in front of them. "Miss, hand over the divine spring and all your points. We will allow you to crush the Great Void token and leave this place. Otherwise, don't blame us for being impolite," the green-robed man said indifferently. Everyone looked at the divine spring behind Fengya. Their eyes were filled with passion and greed. This pool of divine spring was enough for all of them to raise their cultivation by a small level. It would save them 100 years of hard work. There was even a lot left. How could they not be excited? Don't even think about it. If you want the divine spring, then try the sword in my hand first, Fengya said coldly. Her eyes were filled with anger. She had just cultivated in the divine spring for a day when a group of uninvited guests barged in and wanted to snatch the divine spring. Although most of the challengers were only at the early stage of the divine spirit realm, the man and woman in front of her had already reached the late stage of the divine spirit realm. Fengya was 2 small levels lower than them. Although she had the Yuanshuang sword in her hand, she did not have much confidence. "You're right. Also, hand over the sword in your hand. You're only at the early stage of the divine spirit realm. Are you worthy of using a divine king weapon?" The woman in the purple dress sneered. Her eyes revealed a hint of jealousy and hostility. The woman in white in front of her looked beautiful and had an extraordinary temperament. It made her feel ashamed of her inferiority. Even the surrounding people's eyes were filled with the burning light. Chapter 12:33. The man in the green robe smiled faintly and said confidently, "Miss, you are no match for us. Give up. As long as you agree to our conditions, you can leave now. Otherwise, don't blame us for being rude." He was using his words to provoke Fengya, and at the same time, he was looking for a flaw in Fengya's body. He wanted to subdue Fengya with one blow. After all, the power of a godly king weapon was unparalleled. Even the 2 of them did not dare to take it head-on. Be rude? How are you going to be rude? At that moment, a calm and indifferent voice resounded in the cave. "Who is that?" The man in the green robe and the woman in the purple dress were shocked. They did not realize that someone had approached them. Instantly, a bad feeling arose in their hearts. Boom. However, what answered them was a golden fist print. It contained a terrifying power, and it suddenly pressed down on the man in the green robe and the woman in the purple dress. In the dazzling divine light, a young man in a white robe flew across the sky. His eyes were filled with a cold radiance. "Brother Long." Fengya's eyes were filled with surprise. The man in the green robe and the woman in the purple dress felt a numbing power from the punch. They roared and activated all the divine power in their bodies and punched towards Ling Xiao. Bang! The void shook and even the cave was shaking violently as if it was going to collapse at any time. The man in the green robe and the woman in the purple dress were sent flying by Ling Xiao's punch. Their bodies slammed heavily on the mountain wall and they spat out a mouthful of blood. Instantly, their auras became extremely weak. "Who are you?" "We are His Highness Xiongba's men. How dare you attack us? Do you want to be His Highness Xiongba's enemy?" The man in the green robe roared angrily. There was a trace of fear in his eyes. "His Highness Xiongba? I don't know him," Ling Xiao said indifferently. He did not even look at the man in the green robe. Instead, he walked to Fengya and asked, "Little Ya, are you all right?" "I'm fine. Thank you, Brother Long." Fengya smiled gently. At that moment, Yi Liangchen and Wang Lujun arrived. Xiongba's men? Was he the prince of the Sky Tyrant Divine Kingdom who ranked first? He, not to mention that you are only his subordinates. Even if Xiongba came, he wouldn't be able to save you, Yi Liangchen asked in surprise. Then, he looked at the man in the green robe and the woman in the purple dress with evil intentions. Xiongba's name could be said to have shaken the entire Great Void secret world. The trial had only been going on for 3 days and he had already obtained close to 100,000 points, placing him at the top of the rankings. It was said that His Highness Xiongba had the Sky Tyrant Divine Body, and his strength was unparalleled. Moreover, he was extremely overbearing and protective. Xiongba's men? Wang Lujun also frowned slightly. She was very familiar with Xiongba and naturally knew how strong and terrifying he was. Your Fairy Lingbo? Fairy Lingbo, save us. You are His Highness Xiongba's fiancé. Quickly help us kill these maniacs. When the purple-dressed woman saw Wang Lujun, her eyes immediately revealed a look of ecstasy, and she hurriedly said loudly, I have nothing to do with Xiongba. If you dare to speak nonsense again, do you believe that I will cut off your tongue? Wang Liujuan's face instantly turned cold as she stared at the purple-dressed woman and said. The purple-dressed woman's body trembled. Under Wang Liujuan's sharp gaze, she couldn't help but lower her head. However, there was a trace of hidden hatred in her eyes. Lujun, luckily you are not Xiongba's fiancé. Otherwise, I would really be sad. Yi Liangchen heaved a sigh of relief and said to Wang Lujun with a smile. He was even thick-skinned to the extreme. His voice was so intimate that it made Wang Lujun feel goosebumps all over her body. Scram! Wang Lujun couldn't help but glare fiercely at Yi Liangchen. She couldn't help but curse. Ling Xiao stared at the man in the green robe and the woman in the purple dress and said, You should be glad that Xiaoye wasn't hurt at all. Otherwise, you would all be dead by now. Although Ling Xiao's voice was calm, there was a bone-chilling coldness, causing everyone to involuntarily shiver. The man in the green robe's face was extremely ugly. He stared at Ling Xiao and said, Do you really want to be enemies with His Highness Xiongba? Anyone who offended His Highness Xiongba is already dead. Looks like you still haven't seen the reality. Ling Xiao sighed lightly. Then, his eyes revealed a trace of sharpness. Slap. He threw out a slap. Instantly, a crisp sound rang out. The man in the green robe was directly sent flying. Half of his face was swollen, and his flesh was badly mutilated. Bastard! His Highness Xiongba won't let you go. You will die without a doubt. The man in the green robe was about to go crazy. His eyes were filled with incomparable resentment. He admitted that Ling Xiao's battle strength was very strong. He didn't even have the slightest bit of strength to fight back. However, Ling Xiao's cultivation was merely at the middle stage of the divine spirit realm. How dare he not put His Highness Xiongba in his eyes? Where did he get his confidence from? Oh, you're not convinced, huh? Looks like you're still asking for a beating. Yi Liangchen sneered. He copied Ling Xiao and threw out a slap. Instantly, the other half of the man in the green robe's face became swollen. Although the man in the green robe's eyes were filled with resentment, he didn't dare to say any more vicious words. Everyone else was silent like cicadas in winter. Now, hand over all your points, divine stones, divine herbs, and treasures. Then I can spare your lives and let you leave this place. Ling Xiao said indifferently. If you don't hand them over, then die. Yap Liangchen pretended to be ferocious as he spoke. However, his appearance was originally very ugly, but he wasn't fierce. At this moment, he looked very funny. All right, we'll hand them over. The man in the green robe and the woman in the purple dress looked at each other. In the end, they gritted their teeth and agreed. They couldn't count on Fairy Lingbo. She might even be in the same group as these two in front of them. However, since Ling Xiao agreed to let them go, they knew that a wise man wouldn't fight when the odds were against him. As long as they could find His Highness Xiongba, they would ask His Highness Xiongba to take action. They would make these two bastards pay with interest. The dozen of them didn't have many points. They only had a few thousand points. Ling Xiao asked them to transfer all their points to Fengya. However, they had a lot of divine stones and herbs. There were tens of millions of divine stones, hundreds of divine herbs, dozens of low-grade divine herbs, and even a piece of colored glazed divine metal that could be used to refine divine treasures. Unfortunately, it was too little. It was only the size of a fist. Now, can we leave? The man in the green robe gritted his teeth and said. He felt that his heart was bleeding. The points were fine. However, the various divine stones and treasures were all plundered by them in the Great Void secret realm. Now, they were all taken away by Ling Xiao. It was really like trying to steal a chicken only to end up losing the rice used to lure it. They didn't manage to get the holy spring. Instead, they were robbed by these two malefactors. Get lost. Tell your master that my name is Long Outyin. If he wants to take revenge, he can come. Ling Xiao said indifferently. He didn't even look at them. Anyway, these guys were just small fries in Ling Xiao's eyes. The man in the green robe looked at Ling Xiao deeply. It was as if he wanted to remember Ling Xiao's appearance. Then he turned around and left with the rest. Wang Lujun asked curiously, "Brother Long, why did you let them go? Why don't you let them crush the Great Void Token and eliminate them? This way, they won't tell Xiong Ba and he won't come looking for trouble." Ling Xiao smiled faintly and said, "I want Xiong Ba to come looking for trouble. Coincidentally, my points are still at the bottom. Killing those talisman men and talisman beasts is boring. Robbing these rich people is the fastest way to get points. If I can rob Xiong Ba, that will be the most exciting thing." Brother Long, you are right. Let Xiong Ba show off. So what if he is first in the rankings? We will rob him directly. When Yi Liangshan heard Ling Xiao's words, his eyes lit up and he laughed loudly. Chapter 12:34. The reason why Ling Xiao let the green-robed man and the purple-dressed woman leave instead of eliminating them was so that they could report back to Xiong Ba. Xiong Ba was currently at the top of the rankings. In Ling Xiao's eyes, he was simply a money grubber. As long as he defeated Xiong Ba, wouldn't it be great to snatch his points? Ling Xiao also recalled that when the six gods descended, one of them was a true god expert from the divine kingdom of Sky Tyrant. The divine kingdom of Sky Tyrant coveted the wordless heavenly book and would probably become Ling Xiao's enemy in the future. Hence, he wouldn't feel any burden if he snatched Xiong Ba's points. Snatch Xiong Ba? Wang Lujun was shocked by Ling Xiao's idea. She tactfully advised, "Brother Long, your battle strength is indeed very strong. However, Xiong Ba's strength is extremely strong. Among the hundreds of thousands of participants, his strength is at least in the top 3. There are even people who believe that he is destined to be the champion of this great void trial. He has the Overlord divine body and is a madman. If you rashly challenge him, I'm afraid it's not a wise move." Obviously, even Wang Lujun believed that Ling Xiao wasn't Xiong Ba's opponent. Wang Lujun was very familiar with Xiong Ba and naturally knew how strong Xiong Ba's battle strength was. In her eyes, although Ling Xiao's sword had defeated her, Ling Xiao's cultivation was his weakness. After all, Ling Xiao's cultivation was only at the middle stage of the divine spirit realm. His true battle strength was probably similar to hers. However, Xiong Ba's strength far surpassed hers. Is he very strong? Wouldn't it be more fun if that was the case? If he's too weak, it would be too disappointing. Ling Xiao smiled faintly. Wang Lujun smiled bitterly and shook her head. However, seeing that Ling Xiao had already made his decision, she couldn't persuade him anymore. "Brother Long, the divine spring here contains extremely pure and boundless energy. It's enough for the 4 of us to cultivate together. Why don't we cultivate here for a period of time?" Fengya looked at Ling Xiao and asked. Although Fengya had only cultivated in the divine spring for a day, she had already experienced the wonders of the divine spring. She had already completely stabilized her divine spirit realm cultivation and was breaking through to the middle stage of the divine spirit realm. The speed of cultivation in the divine spring was 100 times faster than the outside world. "Alright, let's cultivate here for the next few days." Ling Xiao also agreed with a faint smile. His cultivation had already reached the peak of the middle stage of the divine spirit realm, and it just so happened that he could borrow the power of the divine spring to break through. Yi Liangqin and Wang Lujun naturally had no objections. Ling Xiao set up a simple concealment array in the cave, concealing the phenomenon of the divine spring so that no one would notice any flaws and come in to affect their cultivation. Then, the 4 of them sat at the 4 corners of the divine spring and began to absorb the boundless divine power from the divine spring. They entered a state of cultivation. Rumble. Ling Xiao shone with a dazzling golden light. His skin was like glass, and tiny golden vortices formed on the surface of his skin, constantly devouring the power of the spring. Boundless divine power poured into his body and began to cleanse his physical body. It flowed through his meridians and finally turned into boundless divine power that flowed into his small world. The cultivation of a deity realm powerhouse was still the cultivation of a small world. When a deity realm powerhouse comprehended the laws of heaven and earth, it was like evolving the power of the laws of heaven and earth in a small world. When a deity realm powerhouse refined divine power, it was like a small world that needed energy to continuously evolve and expand. Hence, divine power and laws were indispensable. Ling Zhao's cultivation had already reached the peak of the middle stage of the divine spirit realm. After devouring the power of the divine spring, he was rapidly breaking through to the late stage of the divine spirit realm. After the green-robed young man and the purple-robed woman left, they quickly found Xiongba and told him everything that had happened. Xiongba was an extremely valiant and muscular young man. He had short hair and his entire body emitted a dark golden light. His muscles were firm and there was an explosive power flowing within them. He wore a black outfit and his entire body looked incomparably vigorous and wild. His eyes were filled with an aggressive light, causing people who looked at him to tremble and lower their heads, not daring to look him in the eyes. "How dare you hit my subordinate and steal my woman? Long Outyin deserves to die." Xiongba's cold words quickly spread throughout the training grounds. Xiongba could be said to be the focus of attention. He was ranked first on the rankings and he already had over 100,000 points. He had 20,000 points more than the second place. There were even people who thought that Xiongba deserved to be the champion. Hence, his every action would attract the attention of the crowd. When the crowd heard his words, they were all stunned. Who was that Long Outyin guy? He actually dared to touch His Highness Xiongba's people. He was simply courting death. Have you heard? 2 of His Highness Xiongba's subordinates were beaten up by a guy called Long Outyin. Not only did he steal all of their points and treasures, he even said that he wanted to fight His Highness Xiongba. Who is Long Outyin? He's actually so fierce? There isn't such a person in the top 100 of the rankings? Could it be that he was a hidden genius? He actually dared to challenge His Highness Xiongba. You won't believe it. I heard that Long Outyin's cultivation is only at the divine spirit realm. At most, he's at the late stage of the divine spirit realm. He's weaker than me and he actually dares to challenge His Highness Xiongba? He's really courting death. Beating up His Highness Xiongba's subordinates is nothing. But do you know what angered His Highness Xiongba the most? Lingbo Fairy Wang Lujun. I heard that Long Outyin actually kidnapped Lingbo Fairy Wang Lujun. Oh my god, he's too powerful. This Long Outyin is simply courting death. But I really admire him. He actually managed to seduce one of the 2 beauties, Lingbo Fairy Wang Lujun. I heard that His Highness Xiongba is looking for him everywhere. This guy is definitely dead. Let's go and see where that Long Outyin guy is. If we can capture him and present him to His Highness Xiongba, we'll be rich. Long Outyin's name instantly became everyone's topic of discussion. There were even people who took the initiative to look for Long Outyin's whereabouts. However, it was a pity that Long Outyin and Lingbo Fairy Wang Lujun seemed to have disappeared. Close to a month had passed and no one had found any news about them. In the training ground, there was a lake that stretched as far as the eye could see. It looked like the blue waves were being washed and it was as calm as a mirror. In the middle of the lake, there was an ancient and majestic mountain. It was shrouded in clouds and mist. Auspicious chi filled the air and it looked peaceful and ethereal. Chapter 12:35. Realm Heart Lake, Tortoise Form Mountain. Looks like it's here. Peach Blossom Prince Lu Wenqing muttered to himself. His face was filled with excitement. He was wearing an ancient-looking armor. It was pitch black, and there were golden patterns on it. At this moment, it was enshrouded in a faint light. There seemed to be patterns flashing within it. It looked very similar to the scene in front of them. That armor was naturally the Black Tortoise Divine Armor that he had bought at the auction. It was his father who had unintentionally seen the secret within the Black Tortoise Divine Armor. Hence, They were willing to pay any price to obtain the Black Tortoise divine armor for the sake of the secret within. Legend had it that the Black Tortoise divine armor contained the inheritance treasure of the Black Tortoise sage. As long as one could obtain the Black Tortoise divine armor, they would have the chance to obtain the inheritance of the Black Tortoise sage. And now, after seeing the Realm Heart Lake and Tortoise Form Mountain in front of him, Lu Wenqing was even more certain that this was the location of the Black Tortoise sage's inheritance. According to the information obtained by Father and Big Brother, the Realm Heart Lake and Tortoise Form Mountain are actually a super large array. It will only activate once every 1,000 years when the heavenly dog devours the sun. This time, I must grab hold of this opportunity. Lu Wenqing's eyes were filled with excitement. 1,000 years ago, when his big brother participated in the Great Void Trials, he had unintentionally discovered the phenomenon of the heavenly dog devouring the sun. He had also seen the mysterious passage between the Realm Heart Lake and Tortoise Form Mountain. After that, his big brother entered Ares College. After reading countless ancient books, he finally discovered that in ancient times, a black tortoise sage had fallen here. After that, his big brother had painstakingly obtained the news of the Black Tortoise divine armor. Hence, he had told Lu Wenqing about it in hopes that he would be able to obtain the inheritance and treasures of the Black Tortoise sage during the Great Void Trials. One had to know that the inheritance and treasures of a sage were something that even the 5 great colleges would crazily rush over to snatch if they knew about it. Thinking that he was about to obtain the inheritance of a sage, Lu Wenqing's heart was filled with excitement. If I'm not wrong, there's only about a month left before the heavenly dog devours the sun. I must grab hold of this opportunity. Lu Wenqing took a deep breath and leaped into the air. He flew toward the mountain in the center of the lake. This place was deserted. Even if there were talisman beasts, Lu Wenqing would try his best to hide his aura and not alarm any talisman beasts. He only hoped to be able to completely open the Black Tortoise Saint's inheritance land. Boom! In the valley, a powerful aura spread out. It was majestic and mysterious, containing a wave that made the world tremble. Ling Zhao's entire body shone with a golden light. Auspicious qi filled the air. His body looked like it was made of gold. At the same time, it exuded a flawless luster. It was extremely mysterious. His cultivation had also broken through to the late stage of the divine spirit realm. At the same time, as if it was affected by Ling Zhao's breakthrough, the boundless energy in the divine spring surged toward Fengye and Yi Liangshan. Their cultivation had finally broken through to the middle stage of the divine spirit realm. Only Wang Lujun was still in the early stage of the true god realm. It was just that her cultivation base had become more stable. After all, even with the help of the holy spring, it was not enough for Wang Lujun to break through in such a short period of time. I've finally broken through. Brother Long, we should go and settle the score with Xiongba now, right? In this 1 month, that guy's points have reached 310,000. He's really a fat sheep? Yi Liangshan also laughed out loud. His eyes were filled with eagerness to give it a try. He was able to sit here and cultivate peacefully for an entire month. With his personality, it was already extremely rare. Hence, the first thing he did after breaking through was to check on Xiongba's points. Yap Liangshan was shocked. Xiongba's points had reached a terrifying 310,000, and he was still ranked first on the leaderboard. As for Wang Lujun, because of her cultivation, she had already fallen below the top 100. This fat sheep, Xiongba, was completely fattened up. That's right. I think those 2 fellows must have already passed on my message. Let's go and find Xiongba now and snatch all his points. Ling Xiao also smiled slightly. A strong fighting spirit could be seen in his eyes. He was not only interested in the points in Xiongba's hands. According to the information he obtained from Xiongba's subordinates, Xiongba had already destroyed many talisman tribes. The talismans that the talisman tribes gave him were the treasures that Ling Xiao wanted the most. As long as he could obtain those talismans, the talisman in Ling Zhao's hands would become more complete and reveal the secrets within. Brother Long, you still have to be careful. Xiongba's fighting strength is very strong and he has many trump cards. Don't be careless. Wang Lujun also exhorted seriously. Although she wanted Ling Xiao to defeat Xiongba and teach him a lesson, she naturally knew how terrifying Xiongba's strength was. "Don't worry, I won't underestimate him." Ling Xiao smiled faintly. In a month's time, the four of them had completely devoured the god's spring. Of course, most of it was refined by Ling Xiao. Ling Xiao's accumulation was too strong. The difficulty of breaking through was 10 times or even 100 times more than others. Naturally, the amount of resources he needed was also incomparably large. They left the cave and began to search for Xiongba's whereabouts. However, what surprised Ling Xiao and Yi Liangchen was that after they met a few groups of challengers, the challengers' eyes lit up. It was as if they had found a treasure. All of them charged towards Ling Xiao and Yi Liangchen without caring about their lives. After defeating the trial takers who had attacked them, they finally learned some news. "Bastard! We haven't even found Xiongba and he dares to put a bounty on us?" Yi Liangchen was so angry that he laughed. It turned out that Xiongba had placed a bounty on anyone who could kill Long Outyin. As for those who could capture Long Outyin alive, not only would they be rewarded with a drop of holy liquid, they would also be rewarded with 20,000 points. Therefore, when those challengers saw Ling Xiao, they went crazy and wanted to capture Ling Xiao. However, they were blinded by greed and did not know how strong they were. In the end, they were all defeated by Ling Xiao and Yi Liangchen. Ling Xiao naturally did not hold back against these challengers. After squeezing out all their points, he directly shattered their Great Void token and eliminated them. "I heard from them that Xiongba has actually built Xiongba City? Interesting. It seems like we should go and take a look at that so-called Xiongba City." Ling Zhao's eyes flashed as he laughed coldly. It turned out that after Xiongba massacred a tribe of talismans, he used the tribe as a foundation and built Xiongba City. He also called for all the experts who entered the Great Void Secret Realm to join in and trade. Chapter 12:36. Who's there? Ling Zhao's eyes flashed as he looked towards a certain spot in the void. Then he punched out. Boom! The golden fist imprint exploded, containing an indestructible divine force. A black shadow flashed through the void and instantly dodged Ling Zhao's punch. As expected of someone who dares to challenge Xiongba. "You're Long Outyin, right? Late-stage divine spirit realm, actually having the battle prowess of a true god. You're indeed a genius. However, I'm afraid that you're still not enough to challenge Xiongba." A bell-like laughter resounded in the void. The black shadow instantly landed on an ancient tree in front of Ling Xiao. It was a woman in a black dress. She looked very tall and had an extremely hot figure. Her skin was snow-white and translucent. Her face looked exquisite and flawless. When she smiled, there was a kind of seductive charm that could steal one's soul. People couldn't help but be immersed in it. She held an extremely delicate and small bow in her hand. There was a long silver arrow on it. It flowed with a beautiful light, as if there were bright runes flickering on it. When Wang Lujun saw the woman in the black dress, her expression changed. She said with a little vigilance, "Cheng Ting? Why are you here?" She recognized at a glance that the woman in the black dress in front of her was her old rival, Fairy Gu Shi, Cheng Ting. Fairy Gu Shi of Binshui City and Fairy Ling Bo of Jade Sea City were known as the twin peerless beauties. Moreover, they were extremely talented and were known to have the potential to become a saint. They were also popular candidates for the Great Void Trials this time. It was just that the two of them could be said to have known each other since they were young. However, they didn't get along with each other. The two of them fought openly and secretly, competing with each other. Therefore, there was a very deep enmity between them. "My good sister, I didn't expect that after not seeing each other for a few days, you found me a good brother-in-law? This Long Outyin is my good brother-in-law, right? I also like this brother-in-law. Why don't you give him to me?" Cheng Ting chuckled. Her big eyes were filled with a pitiful look. Thousands of emotions flowed within them. Yi Liangchen's eyes widened immediately. "Cheng Ting, you little whore, if you dare to talk nonsense again, I'll tear your mouth apart." Wang Liujuan's face was ashen as she glared at Cheng Ting. The blue ancient sword was instantly unsheathed and floated above her head, emitting a sharp sword aura that locked onto Cheng Ting. Ling Xiao was also somewhat speechless. Fairy Gusha, Cheng Ting, who was currently ranked 4th on the scoreboard, was actually such a weirdo? If it was an ordinary person, they would have been mesmerized by her. However, Ling Xiao could clearly feel that even though Cheng Ting looked delicate and pitiful, under that seductive exterior, there was a cold and arrogant heart. Such a woman was devastatingly beautiful, capable of causing the downfall of a country and its people. Moreover, she was extremely scheming and thought that she could play everyone in the palm of her hand. Therefore, Cheng Ting was much harder to deal with than Wang Lujun. Fairy Gusha, my elder brother is your brother-in-law. How can you snatch your elder sister's man? I'm handsome, confident, and dignified. I possess peerless talent, and I'm destined to be the epic master. Why don't you follow me? Yi Liangchen stared at Cheng Ting and did not hide the passion in his eyes as he spoke confidently. Cheng Ting's face immediately froze, and her white forehead was filled with black lines. Where did this extremely ugly bastard get the confidence to say that he was handsome? Cheng Ting wished she could just kick him and smash that smug face of his into smithereens. Wang Lujun saw that Cheng Ting was defeated, and she was secretly delighted. Cheng Ting resisted the urge to beat Yi Liangchen up. She simply turned her head and ignored him. Then, she took a deep breath and said, "Good elder sister, I'm here this time to give you a great opportunity. Do you want it?" "What great opportunity? Why would you be so kind?" Wang Lujun asked cautiously. Her face was filled with disbelief. "My good elder sister, you actually doubted me. This is so heartbreaking. Brother-in-law, don't you care about her? Are you interested in the 5-colored divine dragon fruit?" Cheng Ting looked at Ling Xiao and Wang Lujun with a hint of resentment. Her eyes revealed a trace of cunning. Originally, Wang Lujun thought that Cheng Ting was just making fun of her. However, when she heard about the 5-colored divine dragon fruit, her face changed immediately. "Are you talking about the 5-colored divine dragon fruit?" The 5-colored divine dragon fruit, a supreme-grade divine medicine that can evolve a small world? Wang Liujuan's voice rose involuntarily, and her breathing quickened. If it was something else, Wang Lujun might not care about it. However, the 5-colored divine dragon fruit really moved her. The 5-colored divine dragon fruit was a top-grade divine medicine. A top-grade divine medicine was a top-grade treasure that even godly kings valued greatly. The 5-colored divine dragon fruit could allow a godly state expert's small dimension to evolve. It could expand by 2 to 3 times, and it contained an extremely mysterious power of creation. One had to know that the most important thing for a godly state expert was the small dimension in his body. If his small dimension could expand by 2 to 3 times, his strength would naturally increase by 2 to 3 times. On top of that, he would also be able to establish the foundation of the Supreme Tao. His chances of becoming a sage in the future would also be 30% higher than others. How could Wang Lujun not be moved? Not only her, but everyone in the Great Void Secret Realm would probably go crazy if they knew about this. That's right. It's the 5-colored divine dragon fruit. Xiong Ba found a 5-colored divine dragon vine in the Great Swamp of the West. There were 9 5-colored divine dragon fruits growing on it, and they were about to mature in a few days. Why don't we work together and snatch all the 5-colored divine dragon fruits? Cheng Ting smiled, and her voice was filled with temptation. All right, we agree. While Wang Lujun was still hesitating, Ling Xiao agreed immediately. Ling Xiao was shocked. It was actually the 5-colored divine dragon fruit. This kind of top-grade divine medicine was simply something that could only be encountered by chance. This was because the conditions for the 5-colored divine dragon fruit to grow were extremely harsh. At the very least, it needed the blood essence of a sage dragon race expert to nourish it. Of course, the 5-colored divine dragon fruit could evolve the small dimension. However, Ling Xiao was more interested in the 5-colored divine dragon fruit's effect on the ancestral dragon secret technique. With the 5-colored divine dragon fruit, Ling Xiao could save hundreds of years of cultivation. He might even be able to push his divine dragon body to the Great Perfection Realm. Once his divine dragon body reached the Great Perfection Realm, Ling Xiao would probably be able to contend against a heavenly god expert with just the strength of his physical body. At that time, Ling Xiao could be said to be able to sweep through the Great Void secret realm. Furthermore, this kind of opportunity to strengthen himself was too rare. To Ling Xiao, he definitely couldn't let go of it. Chapter 1237. My good brother-in-law, you are indeed capable of great things. Once we snatch the pentacolored divine dragon fruits from Xiongba, your small world will evolve and your cultivation will increase tremendously. We can even beat Xiongba up. It's killing two birds with one stone. Cheng Ting looked at Ling Xiao in surprise. There was a hint of approval in her eyes. Seeing that Ling Xiao had agreed, Wang Lujun naturally had no objections. She nodded in agreement. We can go with you to snatch the pentacolored divine dragon fruits. However, how are we going to split the 9 fruits? Ling Xiao asked Cheng Ting with a smile. This was a very important question. Only when everyone had the same interests would they be able to work together. Moreover, Ling Xiao did not trust this mischievous goddess Gusha. I am the one who provided the information. Therefore, I want 5 of the 9 pentacolored divine dragon fruits. Cheng Ting demanded an exorbitant price. Seeing that Cheng Ting was being so impolite, Wang Liujuan's face darkened. However, before she could say anything, Yi Liangshan looked at Cheng Ting with a smile and said, Goddess Gusha, you are so beautiful. You are as beautiful as a goddess. Cheng Ting was stunned. Although she did not know why Yi Liangshan was praising her, she still smiled and said, Ugly man, at least you know your place. Do I need you to tell me whether I am beautiful or not? No. Goddess Gusha, you misunderstood me. Yi Liangshan shook his head and said, What I meant was, since you are so beautiful, don't think so highly of yourself. After Yi Liangshan said that, Ling Xiao and Wang Lujun could not help but reveal a strange smile on their faces. Yi Liangshan's mouth was too vicious. Cheng Ting's expression froze instantly. She gritted her teeth and stared at Yi Liangshan as she shouted, Ugly monster, do you believe that I will kill you right now? She was about to go crazy. Where did this ugly man get the guts to taunt her? If she did not need Wang Lujun and Long Outyen's help, Cheng Ting would have killed him already. I don't believe you. Yi Liangshan said seriously, with your weak cultivation, you can't even defeat my brother. How dare you say that you want 5 pentacolored divine dragon fruits? I think that you should be grateful that I'm giving you one. Most importantly, don't you think you're looking down on me? I, Yi Liangshan, am a genius. I am the son of the epic. I can easily suppress Xiongba. What? I can't beat Long Outyen? You're infuriating me to death. Very well. If that's the case, Long Outyen, let's fight. If you win, I'll listen to you. Cheng Ting was about to explode from anger. She didn't know why either. She had always been the one toying with others in the palm of her hand. When had she been led by the nose by others? She immediately turned into a black stream of light and floated in front of Ling Xiao. Divine power rose around her, and the bow in her hand began to emit a sharp light, as if it could pierce through the void. Cough cough. Fairy Gusha, don't lower yourself to Liangshan's level. He didn't mean it. When Ling Xiao saw that Cheng Ting was about to go berserk, he instantly knew that if he didn't step in, they would probably really start fighting. He quickly said, However, the distribution plan you mentioned is not fair. After all, there are 4 of us here. Why don't we do it this way? Let's make it simple. The 9 divine 5-colored dragon fruits will belong to whoever manages to snatch them. How does that sound? Ling Xiao didn't believe Cheng Ting, and Cheng Ting naturally didn't believe him. This way, the so-called alliance would be extremely loose. Moreover, when the time came for a war, the result would definitely be like this. As expected, Cheng Ting rolled her eyes and said with a smile, Deal. From her point of view, she originally wanted to use Long Outyen and Wang Lujun to deal with Xiongba so that she could snatch the divine 5-colored dragon fruits. This was the best way. However, she was a little worried. Could Wang Lujun and Long Outyen really deal with Xiongba? One had to know that the madman Xiongba was extremely powerful. She was also extremely wary of him. However, she didn't have a better idea. Yi Liangchen smiled and didn't say anything. He naturally knew that Qing Ting was up to no good. However, it was still unknown who would win. Qing Ting underestimated them. When the time came, she would really cry. "Let's go!" Qing Ting immediately soared into the sky and turned into a black divine rainbow as she flew towards the great swamp of the west. Ling Xiao and the other three also soared into the sky and followed closely behind. Great Swamp of the West. This was a huge swamp in the Great Void Secret Realm. It covered an area of hundreds of thousands of miles. There were many large and small lakes that were distributed in this area like mirrors. Ancient trees towered into the sky and there were few traces of people. This was the paradise of talisman beasts. Many powerful talisman beasts occupied this piece of land. There weren't any huge mountain ranges here. There were only a few small hills and stone forests that could be seen everywhere. This made the environment of this swamp very complicated. On a mountain peak that was only a few hundred feet tall, there was a steep cliff. The cliff was surrounded by clouds and one could vaguely see a five-colored light flickering within. A tall and sturdy young man in black clothes sat cross-legged on the cliff. His eyes were closed and there was no aura around him. It was as if he was one with the surrounding heaven and earth. The muscles on his body were taut, emitting a dark golden glow. The blood and qi around his body surged like a river. He had a head of short hair, and his entire person looked incomparably wild, filled with an aggressive and explosive power. He was Xiongba. In front of him, clouds swirled around. On the cliff, there was a five-colored divine dragon that was a few hundred feet long. Its dragon scales were resplendent and lifelike. It was swallowing the essence of heaven and earth. That was the rainbow divine dragon vine, and there were 9 fist-sized fruits on it. They flowed with multicolored light and looked incomparably exquisite, containing some kind of mysterious power. Xiongba had been waiting here for almost a month. He was waiting for the day when the 5-colored divine dragon fruit ripened. Because of this, even when his 2 subordinates were beaten up by a kid called Long Outyin, he didn't show himself. He only issued a bounty. At the bottom of the mountain, there were over 100 godly experts. Under the lead of a green-robed man and a purple-robed woman, they looked around cautiously. They were on guard against something. Xiongba looks like he's quite cautious. He actually brought so many underlings. Ling Xiao, Yi Liangchen, Fengya, Wang Lujun, and Qing Ting were standing on top of a towering ancient tree in the distance. They were observing the situation at the mountain peak. When they saw the formation of over 100 godly spirit realm experts, even Qing Ting was astonished. After all, it's the 5-colored divine dragon fruit. No matter how cautious we are, it's never too much. What should we do? Wang Liujuan's eyes revealed a look of anticipation. Ling Zhao's eyes flashed and he said wisely, "There's no hurry. There's more than the few of us here. I'm afraid those guys can't wait any longer. It's good to let them scout the situation first." Ling Xiao could sense that there were dozens of extremely unfamiliar auras hidden in the surrounding swamps. There were participants of the Great Void stage. There were even talisman men and talisman beasts. He didn't expect the 5-colored divine dragon fruit to attract talisman men and talisman beasts. Chapter 12:38. Rumble. A dazzling divine light shot up from the mountain peak and rays of 5-colored light filled the air. A strange fragrance filled the air and caused the surrounding void to tremble slightly. The clouds were misty and there seemed to be a dragon's roar. A mysterious dragon-shaped shadow swam in the clouds and looked extremely mysterious. The 5-colored divine dragon fruit is ripe. Quick, do it. Qing Ting's body shook and her eyes were filled with joy. She quickly said to Ling Xiao, Wang Lujun, and the rest, "Wait, I'm afraid the 5-colored divine dragon fruit is not ripe yet. This is a trap." Ling Zhao's eyes flashed and he immediately grabbed Qing Ting, who was about to leave, and said to her, "Trap." Qing Ting's and Wang Liujuan's eyes revealed traces of shock. That's right. This strange fragrance is not right. The reason why the 5-colored divine dragon fruit can evolve the small world is because it contains the power of the 5 elemental laws. The 5 elemental laws circulate and nurture heaven and earth. That is why the small world can evolve. However, feel it carefully. The strange fragrance is extremely faint and there is no fluctuation of the 5 elemental laws. Hence, I'm guessing that this is a smokescreen that Xiongba released. Ling Zhao's eyes flashed as he said slowly. As soon as he finished speaking, dozens of figures jumped out from the surrounding swamps. Their bodies were branded with mysterious runes and they shouted obscure syllables as they rushed towards the mountain peak. The deafening roar of a beast shook the sky. In the surrounding swamps, the earth shook and the towering ancient trees trembled. Numerous gigantic symbol beasts, which looked like tigers, leopards, wolves and bears, were similarly attracted by the strange fragrance and rushed towards the mountain peak. Retreat! At that moment, the man in green and the lady in purple had a faint look of mockery in their eyes. It was as though they were not surprised at all as they said the same word. When the hundreds of deities heard the orders of the man in green and the lady in purple, they immediately retreated towards the mountain peak and disappeared into the clouds. Rumble! Clouds and mist surged as the world trembled. Dark golden bolts of lightning actually descended from the mountain. They contained a ripple of energy that could destroy everything, and they instantly enveloped the talisman men and talisman beasts. A resplendent divine light erupted and formed an extremely chaotic domain. The talisman men and talisman beasts trembled violently as if they had been hacked to death by a flurry of blades. Their bodies instantly exploded and turned into a bloody mist. The blood mist gathered and formed a crimson divine rainbow. It instantly flew into the clouds and merged with the divine pentacolor dragon vine. What? It was really a trap. What is Xiongba trying to do? Wang Lujun and Cheng Ting's expressions changed drastically. Looking at everything before them, their eyes were filled with disbelief. That was a few dozen talisman humans and talisman beasts, yet they had all died in an instant. Moreover, their flesh and primordial spirits had fused with the 5-colored divine dragon vine, which gave them a bad feeling. Blood sacrifice divine medicine. This Xiongba is indeed a madman, so vicious. Ling Zhao's eyes flashed as he sighed softly. Blood sacrifice divine medicine? When Wang Lujun heard these words, her face was instantly filled with disbelief. The so-called blood sacrifice divine medicine was to use the primordial spirits of living beings and even their vitality to refine the divine medicine. Just like the 5-colored divine dragon fruit, it had not fully matured yet. According to Ling Zhao's estimation, it would take at least a few months or even a few years. Xiongba naturally could not wait that long. Hence, he had set up a trap here to lure the talisman men and talisman beasts into taking the bait. He wanted to use their primordial spirits to refine the 5-colored divine dragon vine and accelerate the ripening of the fruit. Xiongba is vicious. Although the blood sacrifice divine medicine can accelerate the ripening of the divine medicine, isn't he afraid of the consequences? Cheng Ting naturally knew about the blood sacrifice divine medicine and said in disbelief, "It's still better than not being able to obtain the pentacolored divine dragon fruit." Ling Xiao smiled faintly. However, there was something in his heart that he did not say. The blood sacrifice divine medicine would indeed cause the fruit to lose a portion of its power. The 5 elemental laws would not be pure and the evolution of the small world would be greatly reduced. However, through the blood sacrifice divine medicine, the power within the fruit could greatly increase the physical strength of a martial artist. To a physique refinement expert, there were only benefits and no disadvantages. Could it be that Xiongba is also a physique refinement expert? Ling Zhao's eyes flashed as he thought to himself. Rumble. After devouring the primordial spirits of so many talisman men and talisman beasts, the growth of the 5-colored divine dragon vine seemed to have reached an extreme. The 9 pentacolored divine dragon fruits glowed with resplendent light and flowed with 5-colored divine light, causing the clouds in the sky to become extremely gorgeous. Beams of divine light soared into the sky, forming the shape of 9 suns in the 9 heavens. The phenomenon was extremely astonishing. When the divine medicine ripened, there would be a shocking scene. The news of the 5-colored divine dragon fruit could no longer be hidden. Soon, many experts would come to snatch it. However, this period of time was enough for Xiongba to keep the 9 fruits. We must obtain the 5-colored divine dragon fruit. Long Ao Tian, Wang Lujun, I will go and break the trap that Xiongba left behind. The 2 of you must hold Xiongba back. With the combined strength of the 3 of us, we will definitely be able to snatch the 5-colored divine dragon fruit from Xiongba's hands. Qing Ting's eyes revealed a trace of anxiety. After she spoke to Ling Xiao and Wang Lujun, she turned into a ray of black light and shot into the sky. Boom! The heavenly wind in the surroundings trembled as the void rumbled. The ancient bow in Qing Ting's hand was pulled into a full moon by her. A silver arrow containing the power to pierce through everything instantly shot towards Xiongba on the peak of the mountain. Qing Ting? How dare you? Xiongba's cold and furious voice rang out. He also recognized Qing Ting's identity and knew how terrifying the ancient bow in Qing Ting's hand was. The silver arrow was like a vast galaxy as it spread out in the void. In an instant, it was about to drown the entire mountain peak. Xiongba had set up a powerful killing array on the mountain peak, which was why he was able to kill so many talisman men and talisman beasts. But in front of this arrow of Qing Ting's, the powerful killing array actually paled in comparison, and all of a sudden, it exploded. Resplendent divine light swept out in all directions, causing the void to tremble. A few towering ancient trees in the surroundings were swept up and instantly turned into dust. Stop her! Killing intent flashed in the eyes of the green-robed man and the purple-dressed woman. In an instant, they led over 100 godly experts and charged towards Qing Ting. Chapter 1239. Those who block me shall die. Killing intent flashed across Qing Ting's eyes. 2 silver arrows were knocked on her ancient bow. Her body seemed to be surrounded by silver light as she aimed at the green-robed man and the purple-dressed lady. Then she shot the arrows. What? The expressions of the green-robed man and the purple-dressed woman changed drastically. They didn't even think before grabbing the 2 unlucky deities beside them and pushing them forward. At the same time, a talisman flashed in their hands and the 2 of them disappeared. Boom! The 2 unlucky godly spirits were shot by Qing Ting. Not even their bones were left. Even their primordial spirits were turned into dust. At this moment, Yi Liangchen and Feng Ye charged towards the hundreds of godly spirits. On the other hand, Ling Xiao and Wang Lujun transformed into 2 resplendent streaks of light. The moment Qing Ting destroyed the killing array, they charged up the cliff shrouded in clouds. At this moment, the 5-colored divine dragon fruits were completely ripe. 9 5-colored divine dragon fruits floated above the 5-colored divine dragon vine and emitted 5-colored light. The surrounding clouds were dyed in 5 colors. Then, 9 small suns fell off and flew towards the sky. Keep them. Xiongba's eyes were filled with excitement. He took a deep breath and was about to keep the 9 5-colored divine dragon fruits. Boom! A huge golden hand fell from the sky. It contained an ancient and vast power. It was extremely terrifying as it pressed down on Xiongba. The terrifying power contained within that palm caused Xiongba's expression to change. If he insisted on keeping the 5-colored divine dragon fruits, this palm would be able to severely injure him. You're courting death. Xiongba's eyes revealed a cold killing intent. Someone actually dared to take the fruits of his labor. He could not tolerate it. The dark golden light around him was dazzling as he threw a punch towards the sky. The dark golden fist print contained an extremely ferocious intent. It was like a Vajra glaring angrily, wanting to crush everything. It was filled with killing intent. Boom! The fist and palm collided. Instantly, a thunderous sound resounded in the void, creating a vast divine light storm, causing Xiongba to involuntarily tremble. As for Ling Xiao, he felt his arm go numb. He secretly circulated his divine arts to refine the power of that punch. A Buddhist fist technique? Ling Xiao's eyes flashed. He didn't expect Xiongba to be related to the Buddhist sect. Xiongba also saw the 2 of them clearly. One of them was a handsome young man in white, and the other was a beautiful woman in a blue dress, holding an ancient blue sword. Lu Jun? How dare you bring an outsider to ruin my plans? If you want the 5-colored divine dragon fruit, I'll naturally give it to you. Xiongba's face was ashen as he stared at Wang Lujun. His eyes were filled with cold, killing intent. He had already treated Wang Lujun as his exclusive property. In the end, at the critical moment, Wang Lujun actually brought people to snatch the 5-colored divine dragon fruit. She wanted to ruin his plans. Instantly, a towering rage rose in his heart. I'll take the 5-colored divine dragon fruit myself. I don't need you to give it to me. Wang Lujun said indifferently. Her eyes flashed and her slender hands rose into the air, grabbing towards the 9 5-colored divine dragon fruits. Put it down. Xiongba's eyes were about to spit fire. He roared and his entire body was like an ancient ferocious beast. In an instant, he soared into the sky and grabbed the 5-colored divine dragon fruit. You're Xiongba? Since you want my life, then let's have a fight today. Ling Zhao's eyes flashed and the blood in his body rose. Golden divine light exploded and he used his physical strength to throw a punch towards Xiongba. You're Long Outyen? You deserve to die. Xiongba's eyes were filled with cold killing intent. His body was shrouded in a dark golden light, causing every inch of his body to become a killing weapon. He was like a human-shaped Tyrannosaurus as he charged towards Ling Zhao. At the same time, he threw out both his fists viciously, aiming for Ling Zhao's temples. Ling Zhao could feel the blood flowing in Xiongba's body. It was like a vast ocean that contained an endless amount of energy. This caused the battle intent around him to become even stronger. Boom! The two of them collided violently like a volcano erupting, causing the surrounding space to tremble. The two of them flew back at an even faster speed. On the other side, just as Wang Lujun was about to grab the 5-colored divine dragon fruit carefully, a dazzling sword light flashed across the sky. Its speed was extremely fast and it slashed towards Wang Liujuan's arm. If Wang Lujun grabbed the 5-colored divine dragon fruit, her arm would probably be chopped off. Jianxie? Wang Liujuan's expression changed and she instantly chose to stop. At the same time, she saw the figure of the person who attacked. It was a swordsman in a black robe. He held an ancient sword in his hand and his body was as straight as a sword. He looked ordinary, but his eyes were extremely bright, as if they contained an endless amount of sword intent. The black-robed swordsman was the 9th prince of the Sky Sword Holy Nation, Jianxie. He was currently ranked 3rd on the rankings. Give the 5-colored divine dragon fruit to me, Jianxie said indifferently. His voice was filled with unquestionable determination and he was determined to kill. He did not even look at Wang Lujun. Divine light flashed in his hand and it turned into a powerful devouring force, enveloping the 9 5-colored divine dragon fruits. Swoosh! However, at this moment, a silver arrow flew towards him at an extremely fast speed. It actually broke through Jianxie's aura and headed towards his forehead. Jianxie, you want to snatch my things? Why don't you take a look at yourself first? Cheng Ting's angry voice rang out. She did not expect the situation to be so chaotic that even Jianxie wanted a share of the loot. If Xiongba was a lunatic, then Jianxie was a sword fanatic. He did not care about anyone else other than his own sword Dao. This kind of person was the most terrifying. Therefore, Cheng Ting's heart was filled with fear. Break! A sharp glint flashed in Jianxie's eyes as he spat out a single word. Instantly, the space around him seemed to distort. Rays of sword light flashed, forming a mysterious sword domain. All of them were directed towards Cheng Ting's arrow. Clang, clang, clang. Countless rays of sword light shattered, causing the void to tremble slightly. Although Jianxie had dodged the arrow in the end, he was unable to obtain the 5-colored divine dragon fruit. In an instant, the great swamp in the west fell into an intense battle. Chapter 1240. Rumble. Ling Zhao and Xiongba clashed dozens of times in an instant. The two of them were like two human-shaped divine beasts clashing. The earth quaked, the mountains shook, and the peaks shattered. This 300 zhang tall mountain peak seemed like it would collapse at any moment. Bang! Ling Xiao made use of his clash with Xiong Ba to rush up to the sky and grab the 9 penta-divine dragon fruits. However, Xiong Ba was already prepared. He circulated the god energy in his body and pulled the 5-colored divine dragon fruit higher into the sky. At the same time, his fists were extremely ferocious and extremely fast. It was as though they were chasing after Ling Xiao, smashing towards the back of Ling Xiao's head. As long as Ling Xiao dared to snatch the penta-divine dragon fruits, he would kill Ling Xiao. Clang. At the same time, Jianxie held an ancient sword in his hand. The sword radiance vibrated and formed thousands of sword radiances around him. They rained down on Ling Xiao. Moreover, the hundreds of spirits led by the green-robed man and the purple-robed woman charged at Ling Xiao, Wang Lujun and Cheng Ting. The scene was chaotic. However, Ling Xiao was surrounded by Xiong Ba and Jianxie. Skyfall Hammer. A sharp glint flashed across Ling Xiao's eyes as he lightly spat out 3 words. Rumble. His body was full of energy and a mysterious and ancient aura rose. Ling Xiao embraced the heavens and his fists were powerful. It was like a hammer that reached the heavens. It fell from the 9 heavens toward Xiong Ba and Jianxie. Clang. Xiong Ba's fists collided with the heavens embrace hammer. However, before they came into contact with each other, they were attracted by the qi. It was as if they had smashed onto metal, causing a crisp sound to ring out. Xiong Ba's fists involuntarily changed direction and flew towards Jianxie. What? Xiong Ba's eyes were filled with disbelief. Ling Xiao had used the fist intent to borrow strength to fight strength. It made him feel terrible. However, before he could think any further, he could not help but clash head-on with Jianxie's overflowing sword will. Rumble. Divine light exploded in the sky. Sword qi and fist intent intertwined and both of their auras shook. Ling Xiao made use of this gap and used a teleportation secret skill to teleport out of the area where the 2 of them were fighting. He then stretched out his hand to grab the fruits. Star-picking hand. Ling Xiao's palm seemed to stretch out thousands of miles in an instant. It was as though he was holding the entire galaxy in his palm. The 9 pentacolored divine dragon fruits that were still struggling were directly grabbed by Ling Xiao and kept into his small world. Bastard! Hand over the 5-colored divine dragon fruit. Damn you! Xiong Ba and Jianxie were completely enraged. The kid in front of them was merely at the late stage of the divine spirit realm. In their eyes, he was like an ant that they could kill with a flip of their hand. Yet, he had actually snatched away the 5-colored divine dragon fruit. This was simply intolerable. This was especially so for Xiong Ba. He had made so many preparations and in the end, it was all for Ling Xiao. Naturally, he was incomparably furious. The fury in his eyes was about to spew out. Boom! The 2 of them attacked Ling Xiao at the same time. Xiong Ba let out an ancient and mysterious roar. The light around his body was resplendent, and behind him, there seemed to be an awe-inspiring black divine tiger that appeared, causing his aura to soar. The surrounding space seemed to be condensed. His hands turned into claws and like a ferocious tiger coming out of the mountains, they were incomparably sharp as they clawed towards Ling Xiao's head. This was the Sky Tyrant Divine Claw. Legend had it that it was a supreme divine ability passed down by the Sky Tyrant Divine Tiger. It was comparable to the might of a sage-to-be. It was extremely terrifying. Ling Xiao could also feel the sharp wind from the claws. He couldn't help but exclaim in his heart. Xiong Ba's physical body was actually not any weaker than Ling Xiao's. This meant that he was also a god with his physical body. Moreover, Xiong Ba's Sky Tyrant Divine Body was a peerless body refining technique left behind by the Sky Tyrant Divine Tiger. Therefore, in terms of physical body, Ling Xiao couldn't gain the upper hand. Clang. At the same time, Jianxie's body trembled. 2 rays of sword light condensed in his eyes and turned into 1 black and 1 white sword light. They flowed with the power of life and death and were extremely mysterious. They intertwined with each other and slashed towards Ling Xiao. The great yin-yang sword qi was also a supreme sword technique of Jianxie. Now that he was angered by Ling Xiao, he had completely exploded. Ling Xiao instantly felt a sense of danger. Jian Xie's great yin-yang sword qi actually contained a trace of the law of life and death. It was extremely similar to Dugu Qiubai's destruction sword Dao and life sword Dao. However, it was far weaker than Dugu Qiubai's sword Dao. However, the great yin-yang sword qi had its own innate ability. It had an indestructible sharpness. Void quake. Ling Zhao's eyes shone with a sharp light. The divine energy around his body instantly gushed out. Like a volcanic eruption, it caused the surrounding space to tremble violently. Some kind of power of law seemed to have been activated. The space around Ling Xiao seemed to have a layer of faint ripples spreading out. Ling Xiao, on the other hand, followed the force of the vibration wave and punched forward. At this moment, Ling Zhao's small world seemed to have completely merged with the outside world. The two of them formed a mysterious resonance. That kind of power was activated by Ling Zhao's fist and pushed out horizontally. Instantly, it formed the void quake. Boom! Xiongba's face changed. He could feel that the power of the Sky Tyrant Divine Claw was rapidly weakening. The sharp claw marks were actually destroyed by a mysterious vibrating force in the void, causing him to lose more than half of his strength in an instant. Jian Xia also had the same feeling. The great yin-yang sword qi should have been indestructible. However, in the face of that mysterious ripple, it was actually weakened rapidly. In the end, the terrifying fist exploded. The sky-dominating divine claw and great yin-yang sword qi actually turned into nothingness at the same time. Xiongba and Jian Xie could not help but tremble violently as they were sent flying by Ling Zhao's punch. I don't have time to play with you guys anymore. Goodbye. Ling Xiao took advantage of this opportunity to step on a divine rainbow and instantly soared into the sky. He turned into a ray of light and sped off into the distance. Now that the five-colored divine dragon fruit was in his hands, there was no need to continue fighting. Furthermore, Ling Xiao could feel that Xiongba and Jian Xie were extremely strong. If he continued fighting, he might not be able to gain an advantage. The most important thing was that the appearance of the five-colored divine dragon fruit would probably attract a large number of experts. Ling Xiao had already discussed with Wang Lujun and the rest. As long as Ling Xiao obtained the five-colored divine dragon fruit, he would leave immediately. After shaking off the pursuers, he would find a place to meet up. Where are you going? If you don't hand over the five-colored divine dragon fruit today, no one will be able to save you. Xiongba's face was filled with killing intent. He hated Ling Xiao to the extreme. Together with Jian Xie, they chased after Ling Xiao at full speed. Bastard! This guy actually managed to snatch the five-colored divine dragon fruit and even escaped from the encirclement of Xiongba and Jian Xie. How is this possible? At this moment, Qing Ting gritted her teeth and said. She was completely stunned. She could not believe that Ling Xiao actually had such terrifying combat strength. Chapter 1241. Good sister, I'll go and help brother-in-law. You stay here and hold these bastards back. Cheng Ting's eyes flashed cunningly as she shouted at Wang Lujun. Without waiting for Wang Liujuan's reply, she turned into a black ray of light and chased after Ling Xiao and the rest. This guy seems to be worried about the five-colored divine dragon fruit in Long Outyen's hands. Wang Liujuan's eyes flashed as she said indifferently, "Rumble." At that moment, the hundreds of supreme gods had already charged forward. The surroundings were blazing with divine light as the heavens and earth trembled. Powerful attacks came from all directions. Wang Lujun, Yap Liangchen, and Feng Ye looked at each other and their eyes were filled with fighting spirit. They charged towards the hundreds of supreme gods at the same time. A huge battle broke out in an instant. Ling Xiao was like a golden ray of light as he sped towards the distance. He could feel that Xiongba and Jian Xie were hot on his tail. Both of them were filled with killing intent as if they would not stop until they killed Ling Xiao. Cheng Ting was also following closely behind Xiongba and Jian Xie. The four of them were extremely fast. The mountains and rivers below them flew past them quickly. They flew past the mountains and lakes, crossed the rivers and lakes, and flew towards the depths of the great void secret world. Ling Zhao's eyes flashed. If he used the teleportation secret skill, he would be able to shake off Xiongba and Jianxie easily. However, Ling Xiao purposely slowed down. He maintained a distance of 1,000 feet from Xiongba and Jianxie as he flew towards the distance. Just like that, Ling Xiao flew for tens of thousands of miles. A clear lake appeared in front of him. It looked like a huge mirror. It was so clear that one could see the bottom. There were no ripples. In the middle of the lake, clouds swirled around. There was a mountain that was 10,000 feet tall. It looked majestic and majestic. It was extraordinary. Swoosh! Ling Xiao landed on the mountain in an instant. He did not continue to run but turned around to look at Xiongba and Jianxie. Brat, why aren't you running anymore? Hand over the 5-colored divine dragon fruit and I'll give you a quick death. Otherwise, I'll let you know what it means to live a life worse than death. Xiongba's eyes were filled with killing intent as he stared at Ling Xiao. He was exuding a towering killing intent. Evil Sword also said indifferently, "A wise man submits to circumstances. You are no match for the two of us. Hand over the 5-colored divine dragon fruit." Both of them exuded a powerful killing intent, locking onto Ling Xiao from both sides. It was as if they would unleash a killing blow at any moment. Ling Xiao smiled faintly, his eyes revealing a trace of mockery as he said, "I've never thought of running away. The reason I'm here is to find a good place for you to be buried." Look, isn't this a good place for you to be buried? The reason why Ling Xiao left that place was because the commotion caused by the 5-colored divine dragon fruit was too great. It was inevitable that it would attract more and more powerhouses. If they continued to stay there, Yi Liangqin and Feng Ye would be in danger. Ling Xiao had lured Xiongba and Jianxie here because he wanted to fight them fair and square. Xiongba and Jianxie, from a certain perspective, represented the strongest of the hundreds of thousands of geniuses in this great void trial. If Ling Xiao defeated them, the position of the champion would naturally be in his grasp. Moreover, the points on them were also something that Ling Xiao wanted very much. Very good. Long Outyin, you are indeed arrogant and egotistical. However, if you dare to say such arrogant words without strength, you will only bring death upon yourself. Prepare to die. Xiongba was so angry that he laughed, his eyes revealing a trace of cold sharpness. Boom! Dark golden divine light flashed around his body as he stepped on the void. He was like a meteor that smashed everything in its path as he punched towards Ling Xiao. Blood chi rose around Xiongba as a black divine tiger appeared behind him, causing his aura to become extremely wild and terrifying. That was the Sky Overlord Divine Tiger, also the totem of the Sky Overlord Divine Kingdom. Legend had it that the royal family of the Sky Overlord Divine Kingdom possessed the bloodline of the Sky Overlord Divine Tiger. Xiongba's Sky Overlord Divine Body was also known as the body that was closest to the Sky Overlord Divine Tigers. It was extremely strong and had an invincible physical body. Sky Overlord Divine Fist. An incomparably ferocious fist print instantly pressed down towards Ling Xiao. Come at me. Ling Xiao's eyes were filled with fighting spirit. He felt as though the blood in his body was boiling. Xiongba's strong physical body gave him a lot of pressure, but it also stimulated his fighting spirit. Ling Xiao did not dodge and punched out. The ferocious fist print trembled slightly in the void, and the divine light of the 4 divisions appeared, intertwining with each other. It contained the power of 4 mysterious laws, converging into a chaotic fist print, as if it had the power to destroy the void. 4 symbols sky striking style. This was a fist technique that Ling Xiao had created by using the 4 symbols origin of the 4 symbols of the 4 secret arts. It had countless changes. After Ling Xiao came to the realm of the gods, it had been baptized by the laws of the realm of the gods, causing this fist technique to become more complete and perfect. The power of the 4 symbols sky striking style had also begun to truly explode. Boom! The 2 fists collided, causing the void to tremble violently. It was as though a small sun had exploded in the sky. Xiongba's Sky Overlord Divine Fist was extremely strong. The shadow of the Sky Overlord Divine Tiger was extremely lifelike, as though it would pounce out from the void at any time. However, in front of the four symbols sky striking style, it was destroyed by the fist print. Rays of divine light swept across the sky. Xiongba felt as though he had been struck by lightning. He felt his arm go numb and he could not help but retreat. How is this possible? What kind of fist technique is this? Xiongba's eyes were filled with disbelief. When he fought with Ling Xiao previously, he could feel that although Ling Xiao's physical body was extremely strong, it was only on par with his. However, the four symbols sky striking style's fist was extremely strong and contained the power of the four symbols origin. It actually broke his Sky Overlord divine fist and forced him to retreat. Clang. At this moment, Jianxia also attacked at the same time. With his arrogance, it was impossible for him to attack Ling Xiao together with Xiongba. However, for the sake of the five-colored divine dragon fruit, he could not care less. A snow-white sword light, containing an extreme radiance, was extremely fast. This sword represented the extreme speed, and almost instantly, it was in front of Ling Xiao. Ling Xiao could even feel that the sharp sword light was about to pierce through his skin at any time. The sword essence was extremely pure. Ling Xiao sighed in his heart. He had only seen 3 people in the war god world who were as pure as Jianxia. They were Dugu Shui, Jian Wushuang and Dugu Qiubai. The reason sword cultivators were so formidable and even caused countless other experts to fear them was because of their unyielding and indomitable peerless sword intent. Chapter 1242. 5 Elements Heaven Sealing Style. Ling Xiao grunted softly and even closed his eyes slightly. He threw a punch forward. The fist print was ancient and mysterious. The 5 colors divine light flowed around him, making him look mysterious. The fist print seemed to have covered the heavens and earth. The 5 colors divine light sealed the heavens and earth, sealing all living things and stars. It was as though a world was formed with the 5 elements force. In an instant, it covered the sword will, including Jianxia within it. A world punch. This legendary realm caused Xiongba and Jianxia's faces to turn pale. Rumble. However, they did not have time to think. The vast 5 elements divine light was like a millstone in the void. It wanted to turn everything into dust. Jianxia's sword was extremely fast. When it landed in the 5 elements world, it disappeared without a trace. On the other hand, Jianxia's eyes were filled with a solemn look. The sword intent around him rose to the extreme. The ancient sword in his hand shone with an unparalleled sharpness. In an instant, he slashed out tens of thousands of sword lights, intending to completely shatter the world formed by the fist intent. Kill! Xiongba also roared as he pounced towards Ling Xiao. He could feel that Jianxia was in a bad situation. If he continued to stay in the fist will world, he might be killed. Hence, he wanted to break Ling Xiao's fist will world from the outside to save Jianxia. However, Ling Xiao was not as calm as he looked. The 5 elements heaven sealing style was a peerless fist skill that he had recreated on the basis of the 4 elephants sky striking style and the power of Qilin's secret skill. The 5 elements reinforced and restrained each other. They flowed endlessly. Although the power of the punch was terrifying, in order to maintain the fist will world, the power in Ling Xiao's body was being sucked out. In just a short moment, half of his power had been sucked out. Otherwise, if Ling Xiao could maintain the fist will world for a long time, Xiongba and Jianxia would not have run out of power. They would have been killed by Ling Xiao. Ling Xiao guessed that if he wanted the fist will world to last forever, he would have to break through to the sage realm and possess an eternal saint path realm. Break! Ling Xiao's eyes flashed. He naturally could not let Xiongba and Jianxia break the fist will world from the outside. Hence, he chose to destroy it. Rumble! Terrifying fist will burst out. The vast fist that had turned into a world of 5 elements was dazzling. Then, it exploded like a small sun. The sky shook and the void seemed to be about to be destroyed. As for Xiongba and Jianxia, they were swept up by the terrifying power and were instantly sent flying a few hundred feet away, looking extremely miserable. This was especially so for Jianxia. Being in the world of fist intent, he was the first to bear the brunt of the impact. In addition, his physical body was not as strong as Xiongba's. Therefore, he was severely injured. His face was pale and a trace of blood flowed out from the corner of his mouth. Why is Long Outyin so strong? Cheng Ting, who was hiding in the distance and waiting for an opportunity to launch a sneak attack, was also stunned. She had never thought that Long Outyin's strength would be so terrifying. He was merely at the late stage of the divine spirit realm, yet he was able to fight against Xiongba and Jianxia by himself. He was even able to gain the upper hand and suppress the two of them. If news of this were to spread, the entire Great Void Mystic Realm would be shocked. After all, even the legendary low-profile and powerful Ji Lingyang did not dare to say that he could fight against Xiongba and Jianxia alone. Others might think that Xiongba was the strongest, but Cheng Ting knew how terrifying Ji Lingyang was. That hypocrite who hid a knife behind his smile was even stronger than Xiongba. Wang Lujun has really picked up a treasure this time. No, I have my eyes on this brat. How can I snatch him over? Cheng Ting's beautiful eyes were filled with light. Like a hungry wolf that had seen its prey, her gaze became incomparably hot. Bastard, why are they here? Amidst the mountains, there was a mysterious figure with no aura at all, as though he had merged with the mountains. He stared at the battle between Ling Xiao, Xiongba, and Jianxia, his eyes filled with rage. It was a young man wearing a pink robe and holding a folding fan. He looked incomparably handsome and feminine. He was the Peach Blossom Prince, Lu Wenqing. Lu Wenqing's face was extremely ugly. He had been waiting here for so long. When the heavenly dog eclipse was about to begin, the Black Tortoise Saint's cave would open and he would be able to enter to obtain the Black Tortoise Saint's inheritance. However, he did not expect that there would be a few uninvited guests. This Long Out... He's actually the bastard that killed Uncle Lu? How can he be so strong? Lu Wenqing's eyes widened. At this moment he recognized Ling Zhao's face. This was the brat that killed Lu Tiansha in the Wind Spirit tribe and ruined his plans. What shocked him even more was that regardless of whether it was Xiongba or Jianxia, they were far stronger than him. However, the two of them were still suppressed by Ling Xiao. This Long Outyin's strength was too terrifying. Luckily they don't have the Black Tortoise divine armor. Even if they can enter the Black Tortoise cave, they won't be able to obtain the Black Tortoise Saint's inheritance. However, I have to find the Black Tortoise Saint's inheritance quickly. Lu Wenqing caressed the Black Tortoise divine armor on his body and felt a little more at ease. However, he still felt a little worried. This place was already deep within the Great Void Secret Realm. Lu Wenqing even knew that he had reached the boundary of the trial grounds. The Realm Heart Lake had a powerful array set up by the saint. On the other side was the vast Great Void Secret Realm. It was said that there were even God King Realm Talisman men there. It was extremely dangerous. If not for the array set up by the saint to isolate a large portion of the Great Void Secret Realm, how could these people kill the Talisman men and Talisman beasts so easily? They would have been torn apart long ago. Lu Wenqing stared nervously at the sky. There, the resplendent sun was flowing with beautiful flames. However, at this moment, it had already dimmed slightly. It was as if there was a black shadow approaching at an extremely fast speed. Lu Wenqing knew that the heavenly dog eclipse was about to arrive. The so-called heavenly dog eclipse was when, at a special time, the extreme Yin star would cover the extreme Yang star, causing the extreme Yang star in the sky to be swallowed by the heavenly dog eclipse. Heaven and earth would fall into eternal darkness. Only at that time would the extreme Yin and extreme Yang energies reach a delicate balance. It would also allow the Black Tortoise Saint's cave to open for a short period of time. If they missed this opportunity, they would never be able to open the Black Tortoise cave again. Rumble. Right at this moment, a strange scene appeared in the sky. That scene was vast and mysterious. It caused Ling Xiao, Xiongba, and Jianxia, who were in the middle of a battle, to tremble. They couldn't help but raise their heads. In the sky, the resplendent sun seemed to have been swallowed by some primordial beast. A black shadow began to cover it. The sky began to darken in an instant. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.